Chapter 1806. After he arrived at the second heaven, Luli never took out the mountain, because he learned from Uncle Lee that the mountain might be the 9 mysterious mountains. This was a valuable artifact. Once it was known by the outside world, it could lead to endless troubles. He had no other choice. The beasts of primordial chaos were too strong. As soon as Uncle Lee reminded him, Luli took out the mountain and dashed in. But he made the mountain small, the size of a little finger, so that it would not attract too much attention. If Luli had taken control of Yanjin's primordial chaos armor, he wouldn't have to worry about the beasts of primordial chaos. At the very least, he wouldn't be killed instantly. It was a pity that Luli had given the primordial chaos armor to Ling Qinyan. Of course, Luli did not regret it. Ling Qinyan was close to Luli and he had to take care of the Lu family. If Ling Qinyan could not defeat the powerful warriors in the divinity, then the Lu family would not be safe. For Luli, the Lu family and his loved ones were more important than himself. Therefore, he gave Yanjin's armor to Ling Qinyan without any hesitation. Splash, splash, that huge beast of primordial chaos began to attack. It opened its huge mouth. The seawater around was reduced at a speed visible to the naked eye. A huge pit appeared. All the seawater within a radius of several miles was sucked in. Hoi! Uncle Lee took out a heavy sword. It was not the primordial chaos, but it was a good relic. Uncle Lee swung the heavy sword and hacked at the beast. Instead of attacking the beast, Uncle Lee swung the heavy sword into the seawater. This sword strike was very powerful, and the seawater in front of it immediately began to churn. Waves of water surged forward with mountain-toppling force. Master, you go first. 3-star beasts of primordial chaos cannot kill me. Run away and I will catch up with you later. Uncle Lee shouted. The waves he created did not hurt the beast of primordial chaos, but they did push it away for a couple of miles. Uncle Lee continuously brandished his heavy sword and slashed at the seawater, causing waves that were tens of thousands of feet high to surge continuously. Uncle Lee's intention was clear. He wanted to stop the sea beast from getting closer so that Luli could fly away on the mountain. By then, Luli would have nothing to worry about and he could just run away. Guff, guff, the sea beast let out a strange cry and opened its mouth again. This time, however, it spat out a column of water. The water pillar was like a pillar of light, it was too fast. Uncle Lee's reaction speed was fast, but he couldn't react at all and was hit by the water pillar. Pfft! Uncle Lee felt as if a mountain had crashed into him, and he coughed up a mouthful of blood. His body was smashed out, and it was flying diagonally upwards. He was so scared that his soul almost flew out of his body. One must know that there was a spatial chaos wave in the sky, and with his strength, he would die immediately if he was hit by the spatial chaos wave. He hurriedly twisted his body and waved the heavy sword in his hand, trying to cut the water pillar. However, the chaos beast below moved quickly and arrived under Uncle Lee. Then, it opened its mouth and spat out another column of water. Buzz! At the moment, Luli was enlarging the mountain. Then, he dashed to Uncle Lee's side to shield him from the water. Buzz! After being struck by the water pillar, the divine mountain immediately shone with 6 different colors of light. It was also struck by a massive force, but its speed was clearly much slower. Li Tian, come in, Luli said. But Li Tian shook his head and said, Master, you go first. This beast of primordial chaos is very intelligent, and it must have many tricks up its sleeves. If we want to leave together, I don't think we can. Uncle Lee withstood the suction force from the divine mountain and slid down like a dragon. He took out a flag. It was a primordial treasure of chaos, but it was not an offensive weapon. It was meant to assist in battles. Uncle Lee shook his hand, and the flag entangled itself into a huge rope. Uncle Lee waved his hand and the rope dashed out like an octopus tentacle. Go! Uncle Lee turned around and shouted at the divine mountain again. Luli had no other choice but to fly away. Compared to Uncle Lee, Luli was weaker. The beast of primordial chaos was so large that not even Ghost Slash could break its defense. Luli flew on for several miles. Suddenly, he had an idea. He had a way to attack the enemy's body, bypassing their defense. Worms of the Void. Luli decided to give it a try. He dashed out from the divine mountain and took out the wicked bead. Many worms of the void swarmed out. Luli said to the beast of primordial chaos that was fighting against Uncle in the distance, "Go and eat it." Whoosh! Hundreds of millions of worms of the void dashed over. The beast of primordial chaos took a look, but did not mind. It spat out water swords from its mouth. Those water swords actually materialized and turned into real sharp swords that shot towards Uncle in an unending stream. Bang, bang, bang! Uncle was hit by the hundreds of millions of water arrows. There were too many of them, too fast, and too dense for Uncle to dodge. He had to face them head-on. Uncle was hit over and over again. Though he was not injured, he was being forced to move up. The beast of primordial chaos was smart. It knew that the higher altitude was dangerous. As long as it could send a warrior up, the warrior would die for sure. The beast of primordial chaos kept spitting out water arrows. Uncle could not stop them. He had to move up bit by bit. Luli's worms of the void had arrived, but the beast of primordial chaos did not mind. The worms of the void turned intangible and went into the beast of primordial chaos. Glug! The beast of primordial chaos suddenly screamed. There was a glint of pain and anger in its eyes. The beast of primordial chaos closed its mouth and looked at Luli. Its cheeks were puffing up. Clearly, it was going to attack Luli. Buzzing, Luli came back to his senses as soon as the beast of primordial chaos turned to him. He dashed into the mountain. The next second, countless water arrows whooshed over and landed on the mountain. Glug glug, the beast of primordial chaos kept making strange noises. Its huge tail came out from the sea and slapped the water in anger. The water was tumbling, the waves were splashing, and the space was trembling. Whoosh! Luli flew the mountain toward Uncle. He forced Uncle into the mountain and then flew the mountain into the distance. The mountain was heavy. The water arrows of the beast of primordial chaos could survive. There was still a chance for Luli to run away. Swish! The beast of primordial chaos lifted its tail and smashed at the mountain. The mountain was smashed away for dozens of miles. Inside the divine mountain, the artifact's spirit Little Six transmitted his voice. "Master, this beast's attack power is very strong, don't let it attack, otherwise the divine mountain will collapse." *T. Luli was losing patience. The mountain could not stand the attacks of the beast of primordial chaos. Once the mountain was smashed apart, he would have nothing to protect himself with. By then, even some water arrows could turn him into a beehive, let alone the tail of the beast of primordial chaos. "Master, let me out. I will handle it. Go." Seeing Luli's expression, Uncle could tell what was going on outside. He said, "Master, don't worry. The bugs you let out are eating that beast of primordial chaos. I will have a chance to run away." "All right." Luli had no other choice but to let Uncle out. It just so happened that the beast of primordial chaos was swinging its tail again. Uncle could only brandish his heavy sword and hack at the huge tail. He once again roared, "Let's go!" Whoosh! Luli did not hesitate. He flew the mountain into the distance and soon vanished into the sea. Can Li Tian make it back? Chapter 1807. Above the boundless sea, a white-haired youth was flying at high speed. He didn't dare to fly too fast, and his divine will was constantly scanning the surroundings. From time to time, a hint of apprehension could be seen in his eyes. Luli was not familiar with the place and there were dangers everywhere. Inevitably, he was not confident. If it was really the moment of death, perhaps he wouldn't think too much. Only when faced with unknown danger would people feel fear and unease. He had been flying on the sea for 3 days and 3 nights. Uncle Lee still hadn't come back. Even though the spiritual connection between Uncle Lee and Luli was still there, Luli had a bad feeling. Given Uncle Lee's speed, if he had shaken off the 3-star Chaos Beast, he would have caught up with them. It had been 3 days and 3 nights, but he had not caught up. Something must have happened. Perhaps Uncle Lee would never return. Luli did not have a map. He only knew the general direction of the Omen Island. He did not dare to fly on the mountain. If he used the Divine Mountain too often, people would easily associate it with the 9 strange mountains. Therefore, Luli had to fly on his own, keeping a low profile. He had to keep an eye on the surroundings. If there were any powerful primordial beasts, he could run away at once. Whoosh! An hour later, the water up ahead began to ripple. Luli checked with psychic power at once. After sensing for a while, Xiao Chen's expression turned slightly grave. A huge fish had appeared in the sea ahead. Luli had not seen the fish clearly yet because it was too big and too long. Conservatively speaking, the fish should be 30 miles long and its mouth should be thousands of feet wide. It didn't seem to have a strong chi and energy, but it was so big that Luli felt pressured. Luli did not dare to attack for fear of angering the beasts of primordial chaos. He dashed into the mountain, trying to fly away in a low profile. Hua hua! Before the Divine Mountain could fly away, the chaos beasts below suddenly emerged from the bottom of the sea. Their speed was frightening and they created huge waves. It opened its mouth wide and swallowed the entire mountain in a single gulp. Luli did not make the mountain larger. The mountain had a radius of 10 feet. Compared to the huge mouth of this huge chaos beast, it was like swallowing a fly. Luli had imagined that the beast of primordial chaos would release all kinds of attacks, but he didn't expect that the beast of primordial chaos would swallow the mountain directly. Jiang Yi extended his divine senses and realized that the sacred mountain was being swallowed into the chaos beast's stomach. The chaos beast's esophagus also secreted a light blue liquid that enveloped the god mountain. It wants to digest the divine mountain? Luli felt like laughing. The sacred mountain was a treasure of primordial spirit. How could it be consumed so easily? Although this chaos beast was huge, its defense was probably not weak. However, how strong could its internal defense be? Master! Little Six's voice suddenly sounded. The blue liquid outside is very corrosive, but it will take a long time to corrode the sacred mountain, at least 3 to 5 years. However, I sense that there's a natural space array inside this monster's body. Is it very difficult to move around inside? Luli was surprised. He asked Little Six to move the mountain, and it was indeed difficult. The mountain moved as slow as a snail. Luli used psychic power to check the walls of flesh. He noticed that there were strange airflows flowing in here in a mysterious pattern. Space must be restricted here, which had something to do with the strange airflow in the esophagus. The chaos beast could not move because the blue liquid was corrosive. The god mountain was a treasure of primordial spirit. Average warriors could only wait for death if they were swallowed in. Little Six, can you make the mountain bigger? Let's see if it can burst open. Luli thought about it. The mountain could expand infinitely. If it could burst open the belly of the chaos beast could be badly injured, and then it could run away. Buzzing, the mountain glowed and expanded at once. However, when the mountain reached a radius of dozens of feet and the 2 sides touched the esophagus, the mountain stopped. Little Six said, Master, I can't. The esophagus is restricted by space. I cannot enlarge it. What? Luli frowned. He could not go out or else he would be corroded by the blue liquid and be reduced to a skeleton. He could not fly out of the mountain and it was being corroded. In the long run, Luli would be trapped here. Use the rain of swords and fire rain. Luli told the mountain to attack again. The 9 mysterious mountains had many ways to attack. However, 3 mountains were missing. Many of the ways could not be used. The most powerful were the rain of swords and fire rain. If the rain of swords and fire rain could not hurt the beast of primordial chaos, then the mountain would be out of Lu Li's reach. The mountain glowed in 6 colors. Black airflow emerged from the bottom. The black airflow condensed into black swords and shot toward Region 2 in all directions. To Lu Li's disappointment, when the black swords landed on the flesh of the beast of primordial chaos, there was only a sound of metal colliding. There was not a single mark on the flesh. The beast of primordial chaos was strong. The rain of swords could not hurt the beast of primordial chaos. Then, the rain of fire rain would not help. Soon, the mountain released more rain of fire rain, which could not hurt the beast of primordial chaos. Is this a 3-star beast of primordial chaos as well? Lu Li scratched his head. He could not go out. Even if he could, it would be pointless. His slayer's ghost / could not crack the flesh of the beast of primordial chaos. There was only one way left. Worms of the void. Little 6, I will release some worms. Lu Li took out the wicked bead. While releasing worms of the void, he asked, later, can you teleport the worms out? No problem. Little 6's answer put Lu Li's mind at ease. He released hundreds of thousands of worms of the void at once. The blue liquid outside was strong. Fearing that the worms of the void might be corroded, Lu Li did not release too many. Buzzing, the mountain glowed. The hundreds of thousands of worms of the void were teleported out. Lu Li controlled the worms of the void to transform into shadows and pierced through the blue liquid. Okay. The worms of the void successfully pierced through the blue liquid and into the flesh wall. Lu Li's eyes glowed. He ordered, eat to your heart's content. Eat the flesh of this beast until there is nothing left. The hundreds of thousands of worms of the void appeared in the flesh wall and began to chew. Lu Li's psychic power was locked on to them. He waited for the worms of the void to gnaw holes in the flesh wall, and soon Lu Li was taken aback. The hundreds of thousands of worms of the void had been gnawing for a while, and only dozens of fist-sized holes were made. The flesh wall was terrifyingly sturdy. Even the sharp teeth of the worms of the void could not chew quickly. What happened next shocked Lu Li even more. Airflow flowed through the flesh wall. Soon, the holes were healed. The self-healing ability of the beast was horrifying. Lu Li snorted. The wicked bead kept glowing. He released more worms of the void. He had 20 billion worms of the void in the wicked bead, and he was ready to release 10 billion. He wanted to see which would be faster, the worms of the void or the beast of primordial chaos. If he could not kill the beast of primordial chaos in one day, he would spend a month. If 1 month was not enough, he would spend a year. After all, it was impossible to erode the mountain in a short time. The Hall of Black Flames must have learned that he was at the second heaven. They would not send anyone down. Besides, he was trapped in the body of the beast of primordial chaos. The Hall of Black Flames could not find him. Chapter 1808. 10 billion worms of the void flew out and burrowed into the flesh wall of the beast of chaos. At Lu Li's command, the 10 billion worms of the void began to chew at the same time. It was a spectacular scene. Woo woo! Under the sea, a huge fish suddenly started to roll around and let out a ghostly wail, causing the nearby chaos beasts to flee in fear. The beast of chaos was in great pain because of the 10 billion worms of the void. One bite and a hole with a radius of dozens of feet appeared in the flesh wall. Good! Lu Li was overjoyed. However, before he could smile, he noticed that the worms of the void had slowed down. The airflow in the flesh wall flew out and enveloped the worms of the void, slowing them down. Buzzing, the flesh wall glowed in a blue light. The flesh wall was recovering at a speed visible to the naked eye. The beast of chaos's body was so strong that it could recover in an instant after such a big hole was gnawed out. Lu Li did not panic. The slowing down of the worms of the void did not mean that the beast of chaos was killed, nor could it stop the worms of the void from biting. He wanted to see if the beast of chaos could heal itself infinitely. Chew! Luli stopped the worms of the void from moving. He waited for the flesh wall to recover, and then ordered the worms of the void to chew. The 10 billion worms of the void began to chew at the same time. The recovered flesh wall was gnawed off again. Woo woo, the beast of chaos rolled around in the sea in pain. Its tail smashed a boulder in the sea. Several small sea beasts passed by and were smashed into pieces by the beast of chaos's tail. That is fast. Luli used psychic power to check. The flesh wall was recovering at a speed visible to the naked eye. This went on for a few times. Suddenly, Luli grinned and looked even more relaxed. The worms of the void had bitten for more than a dozen times and were about to split. Once they did, the 10 billion worms of the void would turn into 20 billion. The energy contained in the beast of chaos's body was so strong. If the worms of the void were to keep splitting, the worms of the void would be over 100 billion soon. Such a pity! Luli sighed. No matter how many worms of the void there were, the quality was too low. It would be perfect if the worms of the void could evolve. When they encountered powerful beasts of chaos, they wouldn't have to run. He could just let the worms of the void out and eat them. The worms of the void were splitting slowly. It took them an entire day to finish. 10 billion worms of the worms of the worms of the worms of the split. 20 billion void worms moved at the same time, and this time, the size of the large hole in the esophagus doubled. The chaos beast began to writhe in agony once again. The seawater within a 500-kilometer radius of the chaos beast began to churn and churn. Coincidentally, there were two martial artists passing by nearby. The two martial artists were so scared that they pissed their pants and fled as fast as they could. It can. Lu worms of Lu of worms of worms of. Lu of Lu of Lu of Lu of worms of Lu. Jiang Yi's heart calmed down at this moment. After all, it was extremely safe inside this chaos beast. The void worm could still keep on splitting. Li of beast of worms of. He of worms of time. Time. He of Mu of Lu of Li worms of Li of. He of worms of. Of time Lu of Li of Li of. Of world. At this moment, the main hall of the Divine Mountain was so spacious that it wouldn't be a problem even if it contained 1 trillion void worms. Naturally, Luli wanted to get more worms of the void so that he could release the worms of the void without worry. Cultivate. Little Six, keep an eye out for me. Luli sat with his legs crossed, closed his eyes, and asked the artifact spirit to monitor the outside. He began to cultivate. Some time ago, he had learned something. There was a chance that the cryptic realm could evolve. Now that he had nothing to do, he must make the best use of his time to cultivate. Woo woo! From the sea came some cries and howls. The beast of primordial chaos was moving around in the nearby sea. Every now and then, it would howl in pain, stirring up the sea and destroying the mountains and rocks in the sea. Luli was in the beast of primordial chaos's stomach, but it could not consume the mountain. The worms of the void were gnawing at its body. The beast of primordial chaos could heal itself with its strong healing ability. That being said, there was nothing else it could do. Beasts of primordial chaos were highly intelligent. When the beast of primordial chaos attacked Luli, it sensed that Luli was not strong. Therefore, the beast of primordial chaos swallowed Luli. Unexpectedly, it did not swallow a weak creature, but a sharp knife. The knife kept stabbing at the beast of primordial chaos. For a short time, the beast of primordial chaos might be able to stand it, but in the long run, the beast of primordial chaos would be stabbed to death by the knife. Whoosh! The beast of primordial chaos rolled its eyes. Suddenly, it sped up and swam toward the northwest. The beast of primordial chaos was moving faster and faster. At its peak, it was several times faster than Uncle Lee. But every once in a while, the beast of primordial chaos would roll around in the sea and howl in pain. The beast of primordial chaos swam toward the northwest wind. It had been 10 days and it had not stopped. The number of worms of the void inside the beast of primordial chaos had reached hundreds of billions. Every time the worms of the void were gnawing at the beast of primordial chaos's esophagus, the worms of the void were not only gnawing at the wall of flesh but also the body. If it were not for Lu Li's control, the worms of the void would have gnawed at the head of the beast of primordial chaos and killed it. Lu Li did not plan to kill the beast of primordial chaos, nor did he want to go out right away. Otherwise, the beast of primordial chaos would have been dead. So many days had passed. The scouts of the Hall of Black Flame should be nearby. Uncle Li had not come back. If Lu Li were to go out now, he would be discovered easily. He might as well stay in the beast of primordial chaos. At the same time, the worms of the void could keep splitting. Lu Li opened his eyes after he cultivated for a few days. He checked the spiritual connection with Uncle Li. He realized that the spiritual connection was weak, but it was still there. It meant that Uncle Li was still alive. If so, there was a good chance that Uncle Li could survive. Would Uncle Li still be able to find him? He used psychic power to check and found that the beast of primordial chaos was rushing toward the northwest at a horrifying speed. He used psychic power to check, but did not see any powerful beasts of primordial chaos or warriors chasing after him. He frowned. Where was the beast of primordial chaos going? He put his guard up. If the beast of primordial chaos was going somewhere horrifying, then he would have to let the worms of the void eat the beast of primordial chaos soul and kill it. Lu Li thought about it and sent billions of worms of the void into the beast of primordial chaos brain. If something went wrong, he would let the billions of worms of the void eat the beast of primordial chaos soul and kill it instantly. This is good. The number of worms of the void had reached more than 600 billion. If the worms of the void continued to split, the number could reach 1 trillion. Lu Li asked the mountain to take in some of the worms of the void. There were too many of them. It was better to take some in. An hour later, Lu Li suddenly noticed that the beast of primordial chaos was flying toward the sea. Lu Li was on high alert. He used psychic power to check. He wanted to see where the beast of primordial chaos was taking him to. Soon, he was surprised. Then, he put on a mocking smile. Chapter 1809. Admittedly, this beast of primordial chaos was highly intelligent. It could not kill Lu Li and the worms of the void, so it wanted to rely on external help. That being said, external help was not a burden to Lu Li. Instead, it could be of help. Of course, Lu Li put the worms of the void back into the mountain at once. He was not sure if thunderbolts could kill the worms of the void. It was not easy for him to make so many of them. He did not want them all to be destroyed by thunderbolt. This area was similar to the one in the Heaven Reverse universe. Thunderbolts kept striking down. But there was a world of difference between the two kinds of thunderbolt. The thunderbolts here were black and as thick as a human head. Lu Li could tell that they were powerful. Boom, boom, boom. While Lu Li was putting away the worms of the void, 3 thunderbolts came down. The beast of primordial chaos leaped up and was struck by the 3 thunderbolts. The huge body of the beast of primordial chaos trembled, but it could withstand it. The thunderbolts seeped into its body. This beast of primordial chaos can guide thunderbolts? Lu Li noticed that the thunderbolts in the beast of primordial chaos were all directed to the esophagus. Lu Li was impressed. The world was full of wonders. He had taken in 200 to 300 billion worms of the void, and there were still more than 300 billion left. It did not matter even if they were destroyed. Okay. The thunderbolts swept across the worms of the void. Lu Li was relieved to find that the thunderbolts could not hurt the worms of the void after they turned into shadows. The thunderbolts moved through the esophagus and eventually targeted the mountain. Little Six, don't fight them head-on. Guide all the thunderbolts here. Lu Li said to the artifact spirit of the mountain. The black thunderbolts were transmitted from the mountain into the hall. Luli told all the worms of the void to turn into shadows while he sat on the ground, waiting for the thunderbolts to strike. Swish, swish. Countless black electric arcs seeped in and entangled Luli. The lightning-gathering formation in Luli's body was activated. The thunderbolts were absorbed and transformed into special energy that was delivered to the 720 acupoints. The thunderbolts are not bad. Luli nodded. When the thunderbolts struck the beast of primordial chaos, some of the energy would be lost. The energy that entered his body was still strong, comparable to the heaven's tribulation in the divinity. This is just the ordinary lightning of the second heaven. How strong will the lightning of the second heaven be? Luli clicked his tongue. That being said, he was not worried about the thunder tribulation of the second heaven tribulation. If the first one was also the wind tribulation and fire tribulation, he would be fine. What he was worried about was the third one, the soul tribulation. Perhaps the second heavenly tribulation wasn't just 3 stages. There might be even more terrifying tribulations. Boom, boom, boom. Countless lightning bolts struck down, and the chaos beasts wandered around, taking the initiative to attract the lightning bolt. It probably realized that the void worm was not moving and thought that the lightning could attack it. It was very excited, so it continuously attracted lightning attacks. Its physical body was very strong. Even after being struck by lightning, there was not a single charred mark on its surface. Luli used psychic power to check. He did not notice that the beast of primordial chaos had sustained serious injuries. The physical strength of the beast of primordial chaos was evident. Luli told all the worms of void to stay where they were. The beasts of primordial chaos were helping him absorb thunderbolt. He could strengthen his body. Why not? Uncle Lee was nowhere to be found, and he didn't even know where he was. If he went to Heavenly Devil Island now, it would be very difficult to find him. At the moment, the scouts of the Hall of Black Flame must have started to investigate the nearby sea. Therefore, Luli didn't dare to go anywhere. Hiding inside the beast of primordial chaos was the safest. Nothing could be better than the fact that he could cultivate. Woo woo, the beast of primordial chaos was moving around in the sea, looking for thunderbolts and leaping up on its own. Every time it leaped or dived into the sea, the water would be stirred up. Waves would hit the sky, and the waves would surge to all sides like tsunamis. It was a spectacular sight. Half a day later, a dark golden iron ship passed by. There were many warriors on board. They all saw this from the distance. Go around! An old man with wings on his back shouted. The ship went around at once. Hundreds of young people were on the ship. They all had wings on their backs and were good-looking. They looked at the beast of primordial chaos that was chasing after thunderbolts with excitement. What kind of beast of primordial chaos is that? Why is it chasing after thunderbolts? It should be a koan fish. But according to the records, koan fish do not absorb thunderbolts to cultivate. Yes, they look the same. This koan fish is either crazy or mutated. Why did Third Patriarch take a detour? It is just a koan fish. Third Patriarch can kill it easily. Maybe this koan fish is too strange. Third Patriarch doesn't want to get into trouble. After all, there are so many of us. If something happens, Third Patriarch will have to bear the responsibility. The young people on the ship were chattering. They were curious. The old man called Third Patriarch stared at the beast of primordial chaos for a long time. All of a sudden, he said, there is someone inside that koan fish, but I can't tell how strong that person is. This beast of primordial chaos is chasing after Thunderbolt. Maybe it is because of this person. Most of the thunderbolts were absorbed by this person. This person is so strange. I don't think we should go any closer. Wow, the people on the ship were shocked. There was someone inside the koan fish? The koan fish was chasing after thunderbolts because of this person? Was this person controlling the koan fish? Anyone who could control a 3-star beast of primordial chaos must be a powerful warrior. A group of young boys and girls were naturally very interested and curious about the mysterious expert. The dark golden iron ship flew away quickly. The Kuan fish of primordial chaos was still chasing after Thunderbolt. The worms of the void had stopped attacking, but the Kuan fish of primordial chaos was still inside the Kuan fish. In order to kill those worms, the Kuan fish had to keep chasing after Thunderbolt. Luli sat inside the Kuan fish leisurely. Thunderbolts kept seeping in for him to absorb, making his body stronger. Luli even had the urge to leave the Kuan fish and absorb the thunderbolts directly. If his body could be strengthened, maybe his defense could be as strong as the Chaos Heaven treasure. By then, not even a second tribulation heaven god could kill him. The strongest body at the third tribulation. Luli's ultimate goal was to cultivate his body to be like Emperor Z's. The strongest body at the third tribulation would be hard for even a 3-tribulation heaven god to kill him. Wait, was Emperor Z's head cut off by Sunlight Emperor? How strong was Sunlight Emperor's attack? How many tribulations was Sunlight Emperor? Was he a 4-tribulation heaven god? And the daughter of the Violet Emperor, I wonder if she is still sealed under that cliff? Luli remembered Emperor Z's dying wish. He asked Luli to save his daughter and avenge him. Luli forced a smile at the thought of revenge. Sunlight Emperor was so powerful. Did Luli have any hope to avenge Emperor Z in this lifetime? Don't think so far ahead. After a while, Luli laughed at himself. He didn't even know if he could survive the second tribulation. It would be groundless to think about the third tribulation. Cultivate. Chapter 1810. The Kuan fish had strong willpower. It had been a month in this area and there was no sign of it stopping. Maybe, for the Kuan fish that had lived for countless years, 1 month was too short, or even 1 year. As long as they could kill all the worms of the void, the Kuan fish would not mind spending hundreds or thousands of years. Luli didn't mind either. The Kuan fish was safe and he could refine his body. He had nowhere else to go, so why not? Time moved on. Half a month later, Luli finally decided that he could not go on like this. Because today an expert passed by this sea region. That expert's speed was very fast. He carried a huge blade on his back and wore black armor. His head was bald. From his left cheek to his ear there was a strange tattoo. His eyes were as sharp as an eagle's and his spirit was that of a dragon's. He walked on the water. He seemed to be moving slowly, but in the time for one breath, he could cover thousands of miles as if he was traveling in space and time. When he arrived at this area, thunderbolts whooshed down from the sky but vanished when they reached his head. Maybe the warrior's energy was so horrifying that even the Kuan fish was stunned. It floated on the surface of the sea, not daring to move. The Kuan fish was highly intelligent. It knew very well that if it encountered a powerful warrior and dared to move, the warrior could kill it in one move. The powerful warrior walked on the water. When he was 3 miles away from the Kuan fish, he suddenly stopped and looked at the Kuan fish. At that moment, Luli felt he was being stared at by a dragon. He felt chills all over his body. He didn't dare to move and even held his breath. This must be the most horrifying warrior Luli had ever met. He felt the warrior's psychic power had reached into the depth of his soul. Luli felt like he was a naked man standing on the street and being stared at by many eyes. Directly at the depth of his soul. Luli even felt that his soul could be destroyed at the warrior's will. It was so horrifying that Luli felt he was suffocating. The warrior only threw a glance at Luli, but Luli felt like days had passed. The warrior looked away and vanished into the distance. Phew! Luli breathed in relief. He was soaked in cold sweat. He used psychic power to check and found that the huge Kuan fish was shivering as well. The warrior was a powerful deterrent. I can't stay here any longer. Luli suddenly came back to his senses. Average warriors might not be able to tell that he was inside the Kuan fish. But if Yen Hong and the others happened to pass by, they could find him with psychic power. Therefore, he could either escape from the Kuan fish's body or let the Kuan fish sink to the bottom of the sea. There were too many powerful chaos beasts at the bottom of the sea. Ordinary formidable martial artists would never dare to dive into the sea. Even Yen Hong and the rest would not explore the seabed. After all, the seabed was too vast. Maybe the beasts of primordial chaos are frightened by powerful warriors and will sink to the bottom of the sea? Lu Li decided to wait and see if the beasts of primordial chaos would sink to the bottom of the sea on their own. He was thinking too much. The Kuan fish circled the area a few times. After confirming that the expert had left, it continued to chase after the lightning. Lu Li thought about it and ordered, "Worms of the void, eat them." How could this chaos beast not know what was good for it? Then he would let it suffer a bit, have it be a bit more tactful, not fantasizing that lightning could kill the void worm. Taking advantage of the fact that the lightning had yet to strike, the hundreds of billions of void worms attacked at the same time, biting large holes in many parts of the void worms' bodies. Woo woo, the beast of primordial chaos cried out in pain. His voice spread to an area with a radius of 3,000 miles. The huge body of the beast rolled around in the sea, causing waves to rise and tsunamis to roar. The seawater seemed to be blown away by the wind. After the first bite, Lu Li told the void worms to turn into a shadow. A bolt of lightning came down from the sky. After Lu Li absorbed it all, he ordered the void worms to keep on eating. Woo woo! The beast of primordial chaos cried out in more pain. When the void worms in its head began to gnaw at the flesh and blood of the beast of primordial chaos, the beast of primordial chaos finally showed fear. What? In Lu Li's mind, Little Six suddenly said in surprise, "Master, the beast of primordial chaos is talking to me." What? Lu Li thought he had heard it wrong. He asked again, "It can talk to you. Are you sure? What did it say?" "Yes, this beast is very intelligent. It knows how to communicate with me in a special way." Little Six replied with certainty, "It said it surrenders and asks you not to kill it. It will spit you out at once and will take a detour when it sees you in the future." Ha ha ha! Lu Li laughed out loud. He had an idea and said, "Be careful not to let it spit out the mountain. Tell it to go to the bottom of the sea first." How could Lu Li leave the body of the beast of primordial chaos? Since the beast of primordial chaos had given up, it would be the best. They could talk at the bottom of the sea. The beast of primordial chaos was too conspicuous. If some powerful warriors were to pass by, they would be spotted easily. Little Six sent a message to the beast of primordial chaos through a special method of communication. The Kuan fish waved its tail and dived into the sea. It dashed toward the bottom in a straight line obediently. How is that possible? Lu Li was excited. His mind was spinning. He was thinking about it carefully. On the other side, the Kuan quickly sank to the bottom of the sea. Little Six's voice sounded. "Master, this strange fish has sent a voice transmission. It has reached the bottom of the sea according to your order. It said that it will soon open its mouth and let us fly out." "Fly, my foot!" Lu Li snorted. Then, he ordered the worms of the void, "Gnaw. Gnaw until this fat fish is half dead." The worms of the void sprang into action. Hundreds of billions of worms of the void kept on gnawing. The Kuan fish could recover quickly, and there was a strange airflow in its body that slowed down the worms of the void. But there were too many of them. Especially the worms of the void in the Kuan fish's head. If it were not for the fact that Lu Li stopped them from gnawing on the Kuan fish's soul, the Kuan fish would have died. Woo woo, the beast of primordial chaos howled in pain. It kept smashing its head against the mountains at the bottom of the sea. It swung its tail, smashing many huge mountains and killing some low-level beasts of primordial chaos as well. Lu Li did not stop the worms of the void. The worms of the void kept on gnawing on the beast of primordial chaos, leaving many holes on its body. The beast of primordial chaos's ability to recover had weakened. It must have been wounded so badly that many parts of its body could not recover immediately. Okay, stop. After the time for 30 breaths, when the beast of primordial chaos was riddled with holes and the sea was dyed red with blood, Luli told the worms of the void to stop. Luli told Little Six to tell the Kuan fish, "Tell the beast of primordial chaos to listen to me and work for me. In 10 years, I will set it free or else I will kill it right away." Just now, Luli had made up his mind. He wanted to control this big fish. With this fish, he would have a safe place to hide for a short time. The fish was fast and could move around at the bottom of the sea. Luli could control the fish to go anywhere, for example, to cross the sea quietly and arrive at the Omen Island. The bottom of the sea was safe. The scouts of the Hall of Black Flame would not go down to investigate. The Kuan fish would know where the powerful beasts of primordial chaos were. It was safest to move around in the Kuan fish's body. By controlling the Kuan fish, Luli could come and go at will at the bottom of the sea. Therefore, he must capture this big fish. If the Kuan fish was not convinced, he would let the worms of the void gnaw on it until it did. P.S. This is to make up for my previous mistakes. Chapter 1811. After all, they were not human beings. They did not have the pride and dignity of human warriors. 4 beasts of primordial chaos, Luli could kill them. As long as they could stay alive, they were willing to serve Luli for 10 years. 4 beasts of primordial chaos, 10 years was a short period of time. Luli was overjoyed when Little Six said the Kuan fish agreed. At least for the time being, he didn't have to worry about being discovered by the Hall of Black Flames. He could find a way to get to the Omen Island. He asked Little Six to ask the Kuan fish if it knew about the Omen Island. Unfortunately, the Kuan fish had no idea. Beasts of primordial chaos could not communicate with humans directly. It didn't know what the Omen Island was. Let's go to a nearby island. Luli thought about it and asked Little Six to pass down the order. He must find someone to learn about the terrain. It would be best if he could get a map so that he could find the Omen Island accurately. Luli was at the bottom of the second heaven. Therefore, he had to go to a small island. The smaller the island, the better. In this way, he wouldn't encounter any powerful warriors. The Kuan fish swam around quickly. It could understand the order to find a small island. Because of its injury, it was slowed down. But for Luli, it was as fast as lightning. Luli secretly used psychic power but did not go too far lest he might alarm the powerful beasts of primordial chaos nearby. He observed the terrain at the bottom of the sea. There were huge mountains and many strange underwater plants. There were many low-level creatures like fish and prawns in the sea. When the Kuan fish swam past, none of them dared to move. Some low-level beasts of primordial chaos were trembling. The energy of powerful beasts of primordial chaos was horrifying, similar to that of wild beasts. The Kuan fish's injury was recovering quickly. Luli was amazed by its speed. Luli put away most of the worms of the void and only a few billion stayed near the Kuan fish's head. In this way, the worms of the void could pose a fatal threat to the Kuan fish at any time. In a couple of hours, the Kuan fish found a small island. However, when the beasts of primordial chaos approached the island and Luli used psychic power to check, he didn't see anyone on the island. It was a deserted island. Let's go to other islands. Luli told the Kuan fish to go to the bottom of the sea and search for other islands. What made him a little depressed was that after spending 3 days to find more than 20 small islands, none of them were inhabited. They found 2 big islands but there were too many people. Luli didn't dare to go up. Let's continue searching. Luli didn't believe that there were no lone warriors. If I can't find him in 3 days, then I'll take 5 days. If I can't find him, then I'll take a month. I should be able to find a small martial artist, right? Stewed fish swam on, looking for islands. Luli took a look at the map and confirmed the existence of Destiny Island. He waved his hand and said, "Okay, send them away." The Koan fish opened its mouth and spat out the two people. The two cultivators immediately felt as if they had been granted amnesty. They fled frantically and disappeared in the blink of an eye. Luli ordered Stewfish to leave and head toward the northwest first. According to the map, the Omen Island was at the northwest. Yes, to the northwest. It is a bit far, but we can get there in half a month. Luli took a closer look at the map. If the two warriors did not lie to him, they could reach the Omen Island in half a month according to the map. Logically speaking, the two of them shouldn't be lying. It is only half a month. Let's go in this direction first. Luli told the beast of primordial chaos to travel at the bottom of the sea. He didn't cultivate anymore. He was checking the nearby terrain at all times and judging by the distribution of the islands on the map. 3 days later, Luli could tell from the distribution of the islands on the map that he was on the right track. He put his mind at ease. As long as he could reach the Omen Island, he would be safe for now. The Koan fish was safe at the bottom of the sea. If there were powerful beasts of primordial chaos, the Koan fish could sense them in advance and run away. 6 days later, Luli was not as nervous as before. In another 8 or 9 days, he would arrive at the Omen Island. Stewfish moved on for another 3 days. Luli sensed something in his soul. He felt his spiritual connection with Uncle Lee was growing stronger. Did that mean he was getting closer to Uncle Lee? To the left, no, to the left, to the front. Chapter 1812. Uncle Lee was nearby, only hundreds of thousands of miles away from Luli. He was covered in blood and his face was red. He was in a bad state of mind. 8 warriors were chasing after him. They were all Second Tribulation Heaven immortals, and they were following Luli in a fan formation. Clearly, they did not go after Uncle Lee with all their strength. The 8 were from the Hall of Combat of the Dark Flame, and they were familiar with Uncle Lee's skills. They all knew that Uncle Lee could use a powerful move when he was desperate. Not all of them would die, but at least 1 or 2 of them would. More importantly, it was pointless to capture and kill Uncle Lee. Their real mission was to kill Luli. It had been a long time since they found Luli. They hoped to find Luli by following Uncle Lee. Uncle Lee knew this very well. The glow in his eyes dimmed down. He knew he could not survive this time. He could not get rid of the 8. Even if he could, he would still die. There must be a patriarch or even 3 patriarchs nearby. Their real target was not Uncle Lee, but Luli. He was not in a hurry to die. The day he betrayed the Hall of Black Flame, he knew that he would most likely die. He only wanted to come to the second heaven to settle down his daughter. Then, he would be fine even if he died. Now, it seemed that his wish had become an extravagant hope. He regretted that he should have told Luli where his daughter was. If Luli could escape, maybe Luli could take care of his daughter for him. It had been months since Uncle Lee saw Luli. Since Uncle Lee was still alive, Luli must be alive as well. Uncle Lee admired Luli for being able to survive for such a long time when he was on his own. The fact that Luli could come to the divinity from the mortal world and dominate the divinity proved that he was not an average person. Li Tian, surrender. Yes, Commander Lee, surrender and help us find Luli. When we go back, we will ask the Grand Master to be lenient on you. Commander Lee, we all know that you became Luli's soul slave because you had no other choice. Grand Master will understand. As long as you turn over a new leaf, Grand Master might pardon you. Li Tian, if you still refuse to realize your errors, then we can only disregard our past relationship and kill you. The 8 people behind Luli kept yelling. They had no other choice. They had mobilized more than 100 warriors and thousands of scouts. They even asked the small forces nearby to join in the search. Still, there was no trace of Luli. One of their patriarchs used a secret skill to make sure that Luli was in the nearby waters. That being said, so many of them had been searching but to no avail. They had no other choice but to pin their hopes on Uncle Lee, hoping that he could help them find Luli. After all, Uncle Lee was Luli's sole slave and he had a spiritual connection with Luli. Maybe he was the one who hid Luli, hee. Uncle Lee laughed coldly. These people were simply insulting his intelligence. He had been in the Black Flame Hall for so many years, how could he not know what kind of person the Black Flame Hall master was? Surrendering would only result in death. There was no possibility of being pardoned. While he was running, Uncle Lee suddenly trembled. He felt the spiritual connection with Luli was getting stronger. What did this mean? This meant that Luli was getting closer. Oh no! Uncle Lee shouted to himself. Luli might have sensed the spiritual connection with him, so he was getting closer quickly. If Luli came over, then everything would be over. The patriarchs hiding nearby would take actions at once to capture or kill Uncle Lee and Luli together. No, I must warn my master and tell him not to come over. Uncle Lee reacted quickly. The heavy sword in his hand glowed, and he hacked at the space behind him. A streak of golden light appeared, tearing apart the sky and causing the space to tremble. Uncle Lee hacked at the space behind him. Whoosh! The 8 people behind him immediately scattered and dodged. The golden light slashed into the seawater, causing the seawater to churn and the waves to hit the sky. They violently surged in all directions, creating a huge commotion. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh! Uncle Lee kept hacking at the space, causing the sea and space within a radius of more than 3,000 miles to tremble. If Luli were closer, he would be able to sense it. Uncle Lee believed that Luli was smart enough to see something. Has the old man lost his mind? Kill him! Let's wait and see. He can't get away. The 8 people behind Uncle Lee were confused. Uncle Lee's sudden and violent attacks were powerful, but he didn't hurt anyone. This kind of attack was meaningless to them. He is still getting closer? Uncle Lee tried to sense and found that the spiritual connection with Luli was getting stronger. He became extremely nervous. Then, his eyes turned and he suddenly came to his senses. His expression also became extremely ugly. Judging from the strength of the spiritual connection, he could tell that Luli was approaching at a horrifying speed. Luli's speed was only so fast. Clearly, this was not Luli's normal state. In other words, Luli was being carried by an external force that was several times or even more than 10 times his own speed. Luli had just come to the second heaven. What external force could Luli have? The only explanation was, Luli had been captured by the patriarchs of the Hall of Black Flame and he was being carried over. I am overthinking. Uncle Lee stopped his attacks. Desperation rose in his eyes. Given Luli's power, it was already commendable that he could survive at the second heaven for so long. The Hall of Black Flame had sent out so many warriors. It was reasonable that Luli was captured. Never mind, never mind. Uncle Lee was ready to die. When Luli was brought over, Uncle Lee was ready to risk his life. Even if he were to die, he would drag 1 or 2 people down with him. Uncle Lee didn't even bother to run. He stood where he was, staring at the 8 behind him coldly. The 8 looked at each other, surprised. But they didn't think too much. They spread out and surrounded Uncle Lee. The golden sword in Uncle Lee's hand glowed. He had been trying to sense the spiritual connection with Luli. At the same time, he used psychic power to check around. He wanted to see which patriarch of the Hall of Black Flame had taken Luli. After a while, Uncle Lee was surprised. He could feel that Luli was at the bottom of the sea. Was the patriarch of the Hall of Black Flame taking Luli to the bottom of the sea? Was that patriarch not afraid of being killed by the beasts of primordial chaos at the bottom of the sea? Move! The 8 warriors surrounded Uncle Lee for a while. Seeing that Uncle Lee didn't do anything, they became impatient and decided to make their move. The 8 of them moved almost at the same time. They dashed towards Uncle Lee from all sides. They planned to work together and injure Uncle Lee in one move. Charge! Uncle Lee knew that he could not run away. He was ready to risk his life. But right at that moment, he suddenly felt a surge of psychic power coming from the bottom of the sea. He was very familiar with that psychic power. It was Lu Li's. Splash, splash, at the same time, the water at the bottom of the sea tumbled as a huge shadow leaped out. Before Uncle Lee and the 8 martial artists could react, a huge fish opened its mouth and swallowed Uncle Lee and the 8 martial artists. Bastard, how dare you! Chapter 1813. Swish. 2 figures tore through the void and flew over. They were much faster than Uncle Lee and the others, and were almost as fast as the Kuan fish. The 2 of them flew over quickly and used their divine senses to scan the area. However, by the time they arrived, the Kuan fish was nowhere to be seen. One of them was Yen Hong, and the other was an elder of the Black Lava Hall. The 2 of them looked at each other in shock. They had been lying in ambush nearby. The 8 martial artists did not kill Uncle Lee because of the 2 of them. They wanted to use Uncle Lee to find Lu Li. The Hall Master of Black Flames Hall had ordered them to kill Lu Li. The Hall Master of Black Flames Hall did not care about Uncle Lee's life, and neither did Yen Hong. Now, Uncle Lee and the 8 Battle Hall martial artists had been swallowed by a big fish. They did not care about the 8 martial artists, but they could not let Uncle Lee go missing. They had to bring Uncle Lee's body back. They still needed him to find Lu Li. Chase. The 2 of them looked at each other and made up their minds. The 2 of them rushed to the bottom of the sea. They had to catch up with the big fish, find Uncle Lee, and rescue the Battle Hall martial artists. However, they had just rushed to the bottom of the sea, and before they reached the bottom, some chaos beasts were attracted over. Those low-level chaos beasts were not very intelligent. When they saw humans, they would attack first. Get lost! Yen Hong was frustrated as he attacked furiously. A long spear appeared in his hand and stabbed out continuously. A few chaos beasts in the vicinity were immediately killed. The other elder rolled his eyes. Yen Hong's killing spree at the bottom of the sea would attract more and more chaos beasts. As expected, as the 2 of them rushed to the bottom of the sea, more and more chaos beasts were attracted. The stimulation of blood caused the nearby sea to be stirred up. Countless chaos beasts were coming. Let's go up. The other elder waved his hand. Although the chaos beasts that had arrived were not considered strong, the chaos beasts that had arrived were not that strong. Although the chaos beasts were not strong, it was almost impossible for the 2 of them to find the big fish. If they continued to stay at the bottom of the sea, they would attract more and more chaos beasts. If a 4-star or 5-star chaos beast appeared, the 2 of them would be doomed. Yen Hong knew that he could not catch up. He had to fly up with the other elder with a dark face. When the 2 reached the sea, Yen Hong asked, "Old Luo, use your secret skill to check if Li Tian and the others are dead. Where are they?" "Alright." Elder Luo nodded slightly. A large turtle shell appeared in his hand. He poured in divine power and the patterns on the shell lit up and spun. After the time for 1 incense stick to burn, Patriarch Luo opened his eyes. His eyes were filled with shock as he said, "Li Tian is not dead. Not only that, I can feel that he is with Lu Li. It's within a radius of 10 million miles. How is this possible?" Yen Hongi was in disbelief, thinking that Elder Luo had sensed wrongly. Just now, Li Tian was swallowed by a big fish. How could he be with Lu Li? There were scouts of the Hall of Black Flame all around. Could Lu Li fly in the sky or go underground? Something's wrong. Yen Hong suddenly came to his senses. He looked at Patriarch Luo and their pupils contracted. They said at the same time, "Lu Li is in that big fish." Elder Luo's secret technique had always been accurate and had never made a mistake. If so, then Lu Li must be with Li Tian. On top of that, the strange behavior of the big fish made it even more likely. Luli controlled the fish to swallow Uncle Lee and the 8 warriors and take them away. If they wanted to confirm this fact, they would have to see if the next 8 warriors would die and if Li Tian could survive. Patriarch Luo, check the 8. Yen Hong came to his senses at once and said. The turtle shell in Patriarch Luo's hand glowed. After the time for 2 incense sticks to burn, Patriarch Luo opened his eyes and said, You are right. The 8 are dead but Li Tian is alive. Go after him. Yen Hong was enraged like a tiger that had its tail stepped on. He yelled, Send a message. Find a Kuan fish. Find it at all costs. Patriarch Luo was right. That fish was the Kuan fish, controlled by Luli. It swallowed Li Tian and the 8 warriors. At the moment, the Kuan fish was swimming at the bottom of the sea at the top of its speed, dashing toward the Omen Island. Uncle Lee was teleported into the mountain, while the other 8 warriors were enveloped by the blue liquid. It was difficult for them to move. Luli had released billions of worms of the void. The fate of the 8 warriors was almost sealed. The 8 warriors were weaker than Li Tian, and they were not protected by the chaos treasure. Their bodies were being corroded by the blue liquid. With the addition of the void worms, the 8 martial artists quickly turned into skeletons. Master? Uncle Lee thought he had seen a ghost in broad daylight. He had thought that he was going to die for sure. Little did he expect that he could escape. It was Luli who helped him escape? Most importantly, Luli had helped him escape in a very strange way. Li Tian, don't doubt it. It was me. Luli smiled and nodded. I am glad that you are alive. Uncle Lee's eyes were watery. He wiped his eyes and said, choking with sobs, Master, thank you for saving my life. You are now my subordinate. Since I have the ability, I will naturally protect you. Luli waved his hand. All right, enough with the pleasantries. Tell me what happened. We are safe for now, but we will not be safe until we arrive at the Omen Island. Yes. Uncle Lee calmed down and said, I think there must be patriarchs of the Hall of Black Flame nearby. Let me check and see if there are pursuers. Uncle Lee didn't even have the time to ask what happened to Luli. He used psychic power to check for the time for half an incense stick to burn before he stopped and said, We are safe for now. There are no pursuers. The Kuan fish is fast. Not even Yen Hong and Luo Gui can catch up with it. We are not far from the Omen Island. A hint of excitement could be seen in Uncle Lee's eyes as he said, We'll be able to reach Heavenly Demon Island in 6 or 7 days if we can maintain this speed. Once we are at the Omen Island, Yen Hong, Luo Gui and the others won't have the courage to hunt us down. The best they can do is to offer some rewards for those on the Omen Island to hunt us down. The Omen Island is a complicated place with all kinds of people. It will be more likely for us to survive. Almost. Luli nodded. Uncle Lee's time was about the same as his. Now, he just hoped that Yen Hong and the others would not catch up with them and stop the Kuan fish. After a moment of silence, Uncle Lee asked, Master, how do you control the Kuan fish? It is a 3-star beast of chaos. Worms of the Void. Luli told Uncle Lee what happened after he parted ways with him. Uncle Lee exclaimed how lucky Luli was. The worms of the void could suppress the Kuan fish. The artifact spirit of the mountain could communicate with the Kuan fish. Neither of these conditions could be omitted. Otherwise, Luli would not be able to control the Kuan fish. Okay, when Luli finished, Uncle Lee took out the map and studied it carefully. Suddenly, he pointed to the north and said, Master, tell the Kuan fish not to swim toward the Omen Island. Go to the north first. Why? Chapter 1814. If we go to the Omen Island directly, we may be intercepted on the way. Uncle Lee explained, there are more powerful beasts of primordial chaos at the north. It will be safer for us to go there. Even if someone goes after us, it will attract more beasts of primordial chaos, which will make our escape easier. Luli raised his eyebrows. You are sure that they will intercept us? Master, Yanzhen has a 9 stars plate. This relic can locate you. We have been following you by following the 9 stars plate. Uncle Li said, the 9 stars plate is still with you. There are many ways to track people at the second heaven. Patriarch Luo has several tracking skills. Even though we are moving fast and he cannot locate us, he can figure out where we are. That is impressive. Luli was speechless. Uncle Li nodded and said, Patriarch Yen Hong and Luo will get suspicious. They will use their skills to figure out where we are. Therefore, we cannot go to the Omen Island in a straight line. We have to take some detours. There are more powerful beasts of primordial chaos at the north. We will be safer there. Luli asked Little Six to change the direction of the Kuan fish. He asked with concern, will the beasts of primordial chaos at the north attack us? We will be fine as long as we don't run into 5-star beasts of primordial chaos. Uncle Li said with confidence, the Kuan fish is strong in defense. It is only a 3-star beast of primordial chaos, but not even 4-star beasts of primordial chaos can kill it. 5-star beasts of primordial chaos are rare even at the second heaven. We will not run into one unless we are extremely unlucky. That's good. Luli put his mind at ease. He told the beast of primordial chaos to move forward. Then, he began to ask Uncle Li about what happened after they parted ways. Uncle Li was upset. He did get rid of the beast of primordial chaos, but he was badly injured and had to stay on an island to tend to his wounds. Several days later, the scouts of the Hall of Black Flame came. He had to keep running to get rid of them. However, there were too many scouts of the Hall of Black Flame. He could not get rid of them no matter how hard he tried. Later on, he understood that the scouts of the Hall of Black Flame were trying to lure him. Their real purpose was to find Luli. Otherwise, Yen Hong and the others would have killed him. Okay, Li Tian, tend to your wounds first. Luli noticed that Uncle Li was still bleeding. He waved his hand and said, I will check the surroundings. You heal yourself first. Uncle Li nodded and sat with his legs crossed. Luli used psychic power to check the surroundings. He let the Kuan fish fly close to the bottom of the sea. This way, even if the Black Flame Hall scouts went underwater to investigate, it would be very difficult for them to discover the Kuan fish. The sea here was hundreds of thousands of miles deep. There were too many beasts of primordial chaos. Luli could see beasts of primordial chaos of various sizes with psychic power. However, when the Kuan fish passed by, these chaos beasts either fled immediately or trembled in fear, not daring to move. With so many chaos beasts around, if the Black Flame Hall scouts wanted to dive into the sea to investigate, they would be attacked by countless chaos beasts. It would be very difficult for them to reach the bottom of the sea, and it would be very difficult to lock onto the Kuan. Luli calmed down a bit. Powerful enemies were everywhere and he could be in mortal danger at any moment. Luli felt he was dancing on the edge of a blade, passing through a sea of fire. Whether he could survive or not would depend on whether he could make it to the Omen Island. Time went by bit by bit. After 5 days, it was a peaceful journey. Luli felt more at ease. Maybe the Black Flame Hall didn't know what he was doing? Maybe the Black Flame Hall couldn't track down the Kuan fish? After 5 days of treatment, Uncle Li's wounds had recovered a lot. Since Luli hadn't warned him, he didn't wake up. Uncle Li knew that he had to be fully recovered to be able to deal with all the accidents that might happen later. Coo, coo, from ahead of them came a strange noise. The noise seemed to be enchanted. It sounded in the minds of Luli and Uncle Li, shaking their souls. Uncle Li opened his eyes at once and said, Master, tell the Kuan fish to go around. There is a powerful beast of primordial chaos up ahead. Luli told Little Six at once. The Kuan fish turned around as well. Uncle Li and Luli checked the surroundings nervously. That powerful beast of primordial chaos made a noise but didn't come over. Luli and Uncle Li were relieved when the Kuan fish swam away for 300 miles. Li Tian, What was that beast of primordial chaos at? It was horrifying. Luli asked with lingering fear. If I am right, it should be a soul spirit beast. Uncle Lee blinked and said, the soul spirit beast is a 4-star beast of primordial chaos. Even Yen Hong would have died if he didn't run away at once. Soul attacks are very powerful. It's okay, it's okay. Luli remembered that Yen Hong's soul attacks were powerful. Soul spirit beasts would die for sure. How powerful beasts of primordial chaos were. Maybe it was because the soul spirit beast told the Kuan fish to get out of its territory before the Kuan fish got close. That was why the soul spirit beast didn't attack. What? After walking for an hour, Uncle Lee suddenly opened his eyes again and shouted, "Stop!" Luli was surprised. He told Little Six to stop the Kuan fish and asked with confusion, "What is it? More powerful beasts of primordial chaos?" No. Uncle Lee's eyes flickered. He used psychic power to check for a while and said, "I found a special scout of the Black Flame Hall." Really? Luli had been checking with psychic power, but he didn't find anything. He didn't sense anyone's chi or energy. Uncle Lee thought about it and said, "Check the octopus in front of you. Try to sense it carefully. You will see that octopus is in disguise." Luli checked with psychic power at once, but his soul was not strong enough, so he didn't find anything strange. However, as soon as Luli checked with psychic power, the small octopus swam to the surface. Uncle Lee snorted and said, "Let me out. I will catch him and search his soul." Luli teleported Uncle Lee out and asked the Kuan fish to spit him out. Uncle Lee moved like a bolt of lightning and swung his golden sword. The octopus glowed and turned into a half-transparent person. Whoosh! The scout of a special race was not strong. Uncle Lee caught up with him quickly. After a few moves, the scout was dragged back like a dead fish. Luli told the Kuan fish to open its mouth. Uncle Lee rushed in with the scout. This is a special kind of scout of the Black Flame Hall. They are called shapeshifters. They can change their appearance and chi and energy at will. Uncle Lee explained. He put his hand on the head of the shapeshifter. After a while, he slapped the shapeshifter to death. Uncle Lee looked solemn. He thought about it and said, "Yen Hong and the other two are nearby, and there are 100 warriors of the Hall of Warfare. All of them are powerful warriors of the Second Tribulation. They have figured out our whereabouts and are waiting to ambush us." Impressive! Luli exclaimed from the bottom of his heart. He wasn't talking about Uncle Lee's soul-searching ability, but about how resourceful Yen Hong and the others were. Chapter 1815. Should we take a detour? Now that they knew there was an ambush ahead, they could not rush over like an idiot. Uncle Lee thought for a while and said, "No, we will go forward." Luli frowned. After some thoughts, his eyes glowed and he said, "You want to lure them to the soulful beasts?" "Yes," Uncle Lee said with determination. "We are in the Kuan fish. Beasts of primordial chaos often fight with each other. But once humans get involved, the beasts will attack humans first. We are still some distance away from the Omen Island. Yen Hong and the others can take teleportation altars to intercept them at any time. Therefore, we must take this chance to inflict a heavy blow on them. It would be best if we can kill Yen Hong and the others. Then we will have nothing to worry about." Okay. The Kuan fish was fast and strong in defense. As long as they were not too close, Yen Hong and the others would not be able to catch up with the Kuan fish. Once and for all, killing Yen Hong and the others with the help of the soulful beasts would make the journey easier. Luli slowed down the Kuan fish. He and Uncle Lee had been checking the surroundings carefully with psychic power. Both were nervous. After all, the 3 patriarchs of the Hall of Black Flames were all at the Third Tribulation realm. Yen Hong could kill someone like Uncle Lee in an instant. An hour later, Uncle Lee's soul suddenly trembled. He shouted, "Turn around. Here they are." Lu Li's soul was much weaker than Uncle Li's, so he didn't notice anything. That being said, Uncle Li would not lie. Lu Li controlled the Kuan fish to turn around at once and flew toward the soulful beast. Whoosh! From behind Lu Li came some strange noises. At the same time, 3 streaks of psychic power scanned Lu Li. The 3 streaks of psychic power were much stronger than Uncle Li's. Lu Li found one of them familiar. It was Yen Hong's. Lu Li, Li Tian, you cannot get away. Yen Hong's cold voice came from the hall of the mountain as well. He shouted, if you surrender now, we will report to the Grand Master, and he will spare your lives. But if you are stubborn, your souls will be taken out and you will suffer in hell for the rest of your lives. Lu Li and Uncle Li looked at each other with a mocking smile. Yen Hong was insulting their intelligence. Lu Li killed Yanzhen. If Lu Li surrendered, Yanzhen would kill Lu Li at once. As for Li Tian, this traitor, how could Yen Hong possibly keep him? Neither Lu Li nor Uncle Li said anything. Uncle Li was sensing the situation behind him, and the Kuan fish was moving forward at the top of its speed. Because the Kuan fish had slowed down, it would take at most the time for 3 incense sticks to burn to reach the soul spirit beast. Very good. After a while, Uncle Li nodded and said, the Kuan fish is very fast. They can't catch up. Even Elder Luo, who is the fastest, is slightly slower than the Kuan fish. Alright. Lu Li was relieved. As long as they couldn't catch up, they would be safe. Now they could see the territory of the soul spirit beast. Would it attack the corn? After the time it took for 3 incense sticks to burn, the Kuan fish arrived near the soul spirit beast. Uncle Li decisively ordered the Kuan fish to slow down because the people behind them hadn't caught up yet. If they rushed into the territory of the soul spirit beast now, they would anger the soul spirit beast earlier. By that time, before the others arrived and the Kuan fish died, Uncle Li and Lu Li would both die in vain. Lu Li was nervous and excited at the same time. He looked at Uncle Li and was ready to control the Kuan fish to rush into the spirit beast's territory. Go! After the time for half an incense stick to burn, Uncle Li shouted. Lu Li controlled the Kuan fish to rush forward at the top of its speed at once. Behind the Kuan fish, 3 people rushed over like arrows. There were 100 people following them, but they were fighting constantly. There were more beasts of primordial chaos coming from all sides. Coo, coo, with a strange cry, the water in front of them began to surge. Then a black ball emerged from the ground. The ball had dozens of tentacles and 12 big eyes on it. The eyes were all blood red. The ball was as big as a hill, and it was filled with chi and energy. One could tell that it was a horrifying beast of primordial chaos without having to sense it. The Kuan fish rushed over. The soul spirit beast was about to attack when Lu Li controlled the Kuan fish to move to the left. The Kuan fish moved. The soul spirit beast had its eyes on Yen Hong and the others who were coming. Yen Hong and the other 2 sensed the powerful chi and energy of the soul spirit beast. They checked with psychic power. When they saw the soul spirit beast, they were all shocked. When the Kuan fish slowed down, they all thought it was their chance. But it was a trap. Spread out! Yen Hong shouted. He had encountered the soul spirit beast before and it was horrifying. His soul was strong so he could stand it. But the other 2 patriarchs might not be able to. Coo, coo, Lu Li and Uncle Li were overjoyed. The soul spirit beast ignored the Kuan fish and focused on Yen Hong and the other 2 patriarchs. 4 beasts of primordial chaos, humans were alien races. Granted, the Kuan fish had trespassed into its territory, but the 3 humans were worse. Whoosh! Rays of blood-red light came out from the 12 eyes. The rays of light shot into the bodies of Yen Hong and the other patriarchs. Yen Hong and the other 2 patriarchs had tried to run away in different directions. But they stopped at once because they were being attacked by some powerful energy. Yen Hong's soul was strong. He came back to his senses in an instant. When he saw the soul spirit beast flying towards them and its vine-like tentacles sweeping towards the 3 of them, he retreated in fear. A silver spear appeared in his hand. He stabbed at the soul spirit beast. Whoosh, whoosh, however, the 12 pairs of eyes of the soul spirit beast shot out black and red light at the same time. This time, all the eyes were targeting at him. Before he could stab with his spear, he was hit by the soul attack again. When he came back to his senses, he saw that Patriarch Luo and the other Patriarch were entangled by the tentacles of the soul spirit beast. More tentacles were reaching toward him. Go! He stabbed with his spear and retreated again. He did not know how strong the tentacles were, but it would not be a good thing if he was entangled by them. Therefore, it was better to leave first. Old Luo and the others are in danger. While he was running, Yen Hong used his psychic power to check. He realized that Patriarch Luo and the other Patriarch were still unconscious. The soul spirit beast kept on attacking them. Their souls were not strong. Now that they were entangled by the tentacles, the odds were against them. Lu Li Tian. Yen Hong roared furiously, his voice causing the nearby seawater to tumble endlessly. The 3 of them were third tribulation heaven gods. They had been fooled by 2 small fries, Lu Li and Li Tian. They might lose 2 patriarchs. Yen Hong felt wronged and angry at the same time. But there was nothing he could do. He did not know if he should go and save the 2 patriarchs or go after the Kuan fish. Okay. Lu Li and Uncle Li rode on the Kuan fish and left quickly. Uncle Li had been keeping an eye on them. He realized that Patriarch Luo and the other Patriarch were entangled by the soul spirit beast and were suffering from the soul attack. They could not wake up. Uncle Li was excited. Chapter 1816. The following days were indeed calm and tranquil. Although he did not know if Elder Luo and the others were dead or not, since the soul spirit beast had made a move, something must have happened. Moreover, more than half of the 100 cultivators might have died. At the very least, they should be safe for a short period of time. Now, they just had to see if Yen Hong would intercept them again before they reached the heavenly Devil Island. Yen Hong was smart enough to know that Lu Li and Uncle Li's final destination was the Omen Island. This was because the only safe place in the surrounding hundreds of millions of kilometers was the heavenly Devil Island. Only when Lu Li and Uncle Li entered the Omen Island would they not dare to go after them. Otherwise, they would be hunted down wherever they went. In addition, this place was too close to the heavenly Devil Island. It was only a few days away. Anyone would think of a way to reach the heavenly Devil Island. Do your best and leave the rest to the heavens. There was only so much that Lu Li and Uncle Li could do. The rest was up to fate. The days had been peaceful, which put Lu Li and Uncle Li at ease. The closer they were to the Omen Island, the more excited they were. Only by staying alive would there be hope. Although the heavenly Devil Island was also filled with danger and danger, the 2 of them might be killed the moment they entered. But at least there was hope of survival. If they didn't go to the Omen Island, they would definitely be killed. 3 patriarchs could not kill Lu Li, but there would be more. Maybe even the Grand Master of the Hall of Black Flames would take action. 9 days had passed, and the heavenly Devil Island was already nearby. It would take at most half a day for the Kuan fish to reach the heavenly Devil Island. Here, Lu Li and Uncle Li became nervous. If Yen Hong wanted to stop them, he must do it outside the Omen Island. This was Yen Hong's last chance. As they got closer to Heavenly Demon Island, the sea region would become shallower, and there would be fewer and fewer chaos beasts. Yen Hong could mobilize a large number of scouts to hide in the sea. Once the Kuan fish got close, they would be discovered. Unfortunately, I was right. After traveling for another half a day, Uncle Li frowned and smiled bitterly. He discovered scouts from the Black Flame Hall ahead of him. Yen Hong had indeed guessed that they would come to the heavenly Devil Island, so he had already made arrangements outside the island. Uncle Li pondered for a moment and said, "Master, we only have 2 options now. The first option is to immediately turn around and dive into the deep sea to find a place to cultivate and hide. We can set up some magic formations to prevent the Black Flame Hall from tracking us. The chances of us being discovered will be very low. But if that's the case, we'll need to hide for a long time, and we'll be in danger of being exposed. The second is to control the Kuan to rush in and rush to the Heavenly Devil Island as fast as possible. As long as we set foot on the island, we will be completely safe. But if we're unlucky and get entangled by Yen Hong, the two of us might die outside the island. Uncle Li gave him two choices. Neither of these two choices was the path to success. Both of them carried the risk of death. After some thoughts, Lu Li made up his mind and said, "If I die with my head in the clouds. Let's go to Heavenly Devil Island. It's even more dangerous at the bottom of the sea. Instead of being on tenterhooks all day, it's better to die in battle. Kuan Yu, charge into the island for me. If any enemies try to stop you, send them flying. As long as you bring us to the island, I will immediately return your freedom." Lu Li asked Little Six to send a message. The Kuan fish swung its tail and dashed away like an arrow. Originally, Lu Li wanted it to serve him for 10 years. Now, as soon as they reached the island, it would be set free. How could it let go of such a good opportunity? In the deep sea, maybe Uncle Li could build some formations to isolate the Hall of Black Flames. But there were so many powerful warriors of the Hall of Black Flames, and many of them had unimaginable skills. Who could be sure that the Kuan fish would not be found? Finding a place to cultivate in the deep sea would mean living in fear and anxiety all day long, not knowing when they would be discovered and they would die. If it was just Yen Hong, they might as well risk it. If it was just Yen Hong alone, they might have a higher chance of rushing forward. Whoosh! With its life on the line, the Kuan fish's speed was much faster than before. It turned into an afterimage and shot forward like an aurora. There were scouts of the Hall of Black Flames lurking ahead. But before they could see clearly, the Kuan fish had vanished into the distance. That being said, there were too many scouts nearby and some of them had noticed the Kuan fish. The scouts sent out the information through special methods at once. To the southwest, Lu Li and Li Tian are making their way to the Heavenly Devil Island. On an island 30 million miles away from Lu Li and Li Tian, Yen Hong was waiting with more than 30 warriors. Someone's shout startled Yen Hong, who was sitting with his legs crossed. "Go!" Yen Hong's eyes suddenly opened. He soared into the sky and brought more than 30 people with him. Yen Hong didn't go to save Patriarch Luo and the others. Instead, he chose to run away with his people and come here to stop Lu Li. The soul spirit beast was too powerful. Since Elder Luo and the others were still in danger, he couldn't care less about them. Once Lu Li got to the Omen Island, he might not have the chance to kill Lu Li. By that time, he would have to go to the Grand Master of the Hall of Black Flames. He followed the Kuan fish's route and his understanding of Li Tian. He was sure that Lu Li and Li Tian would come to the Omen Island. Therefore, this was his last chance. He must stop Lu Li and Uncle Li outside the island and kill them. It only took Yen Hong 2 hours to cover the distance of 50 million miles. When he arrived at Lu Li's place, the Kuan fish was still some distance away from the Omen Island. It would take them at least a couple of hours to get here. "Surround them!" Yen Hong waved his hand. The more than 30 people fanned out toward the Kuan fish. He didn't expect them to achieve anything. He just wanted them to buy him some time. If they could stop the Kuan fish for a few breaths, Yen Hong was confident that he could kill the Kuan fish and then kill Lu Li and Li Tian. Send a message to all the scouts to gather here. Yen Hong thought about it and sent a message to all the scouts. There were at least 1,000 scouts on this side. Although their combat strength wasn't very strong, with so many people, they could still buy some time. Yen Hong had spread out a huge net, waiting for Lu Li and Li Tian to walk into it. This was his last chance. He wanted to keep Luli here even at the cost of his life. Time moved on. 4 hours later, a scout sent a message. A glint of coldness rose in Yen Hong's eyes as he shouted, "They are here. Go to the sea and get ready." The more than 30 people went to the bottom of the sea as well as many scouts. All of them were equipped with weapons and divine energy, ready to take action at any time. This place was close to the Omen Island. The sea was not deep, only thousands of miles deep. Given their speed, they could reach the bottom of the sea in the time for one breath. Therefore, if the Kuan fish wanted to go there, it would not be able to get away. Whoosh! In the distance, the seawater began to tremble and spread toward them at a horrifying speed. They checked with psychic power and saw a coiled-up thing coming. It was so fast that it had reached them in the blink of an eye from thousands of miles away. Attack! Chapter 1817. The Kuan fish's defense was strong. It did not disappoint Uncle Li and Lu Li. The attacks from the more than 30-second tribulation heaven gods could not inflict much harm on the Kuan fish. Even though the Kuan fish's skin was torn and blood was gushing out, it was not a serious injury. The only thing that hurt the Kuan fish was Yen Hong's attack. Yen Hong's attack seemed to be a simple one. The spear turned into a beam of light and pierced through the Kuan fish from head to tail. Fortunately, the Kuan fish dodged out of instinct. It turned its head slightly so its soul was not pierced. Woo woo! The Kuan fish let out a cry that sounded like ghosts crying and wolves howling. The beast nature of the Kuan fish was triggered after the injury. Its roar made the water tumble. The Kuan fish spat out some blue liquid and sprayed it forward. This liquid was the liquid in its esophagus. This liquid had a strong corrosive effect, and because of its strong stickiness, it would greatly reduce a person's speed. Since the Kuan fish was spitting out the liquid quickly and in large quantities, Yen Hong and the others could not dodge and were enveloped by it. Swish! The Kuan fish swung its huge tail and smashed at them like a mountain. Yen Hong and the warriors were smashed away. Yen Hong fared better. He was wearing the primordial spirit armor, so he was unharmed. The other warriors were worse off. They were all bleeding. Little Six, tell the Kuan fish to stop fighting. Let's go to the island. Lu Li ordered at once. He had a good grasp of opportunities. Even though the Kuan fish wanted to tear everyone in front of it apart, it sensed that Yen Hong was in danger. After Little Six gave the order, the Kuan fish swung its tail and dashed toward the island. They were close to the island. Given the Kuan fish's current speed, it could reach the island in an hour at most. Seeing the Kuan fish dashing away, Yen Hong yelled, "Stop the Kuan fish!" Countless scouts lurking nearby swarmed over, releasing all kinds of strange divine abilities and mystic arts. Some scouts even used their own bodies to form a human wall, trying to stop the Kuan fish. Bang bang bang! Many attacks landed on the Kuan fish. The Kuan fish was already badly mutilated and now it was in a worse state. But to the Kuan fish, this injury was nothing. Previously, when Lu Li used the worms of the void to bite holes in the Kuan fish could recover quickly. Therefore, the attacks of these scouts were like tickles to the Kuan fish. The Kuan fish charged forward, and the scouts in front could not withstand its charge at all. They were easily sent flying, and the Kuan fish shot forward like a sharp arrow. "All of you are trash!" Yen Hong was furious. More than 30 martial artists and 1,000 scouts couldn't stop the Kuan fish? The spear in his hand lit up. He wanted to continue attacking, but he quickly changed his mind. The Kuan fish's body was too big. Even 100 stabs might not be able to kill it. Buzz! Yen Hong switched to soul attack. 2 beams of golden light shot out from his eyes and entered the Kuan fish's body. His soul attack was very special. The 2 beams of golden light swam inside the Kuan fish's body like 2 golden dragons, rushing towards the Kuan fish's soul. Soul attack! Uncle Li sensed it and stared at the 2 golden energies nervously. The strongest thing about the Kuan fish was its defense, but Uncle Lee did not know how strong its soul defense was. The two beams of golden energy surged into the Kuan fish's brain. The Kuan fish trembled and then stopped. Lu Li and Uncle Lee looked at each other. Both of them were frightened. Yen Hong's soul attack was effective on the Kuan fish, which meant that the Kuan fish could not run away. What awaited them was Yen Hong's merciless killing. Nice. Yen Hong was overjoyed. He didn't expect the soul attack to kill the Kuan fish directly. As long as it was slowed down, the rest would be easy. Given Lu Li and Uncle Lee's speed, they would not be able to run away. Whoosh! Just as Yen Hong flew over, the Kuan fish waved its tail and moved again. Yen Hong was enraged. Just now, he stopped for the time for one breath. Otherwise, he would have reached the Kuan fish by now. Buzzing! Another two beams of golden light came out from his eyes. His soul attack could only affect the Kuan fish for one breath. But it was enough. For a powerful warrior like him, one breath was enough to change the outcome. What should we do? Uncle Lee and Lu Li were burning with anxiety. Yen Hong's soul attack could affect the Kuan fish. At this rate, the Kuan fish would be killed by Yen Hong and then Uncle Lee and Uncle Lee. I will go. A glint of determination rose in Lu Li's eyes. He flew out from the mountain and told Little Six to send a message to the Kuan fish. The Kuan fish's stomach surged and spat Lu Li out. However, Lu Li stopped in the mouth of the Kuan fish. At the same time, the worms of the void inside the Kuan fish's head moved and bit a hole in the Kuan fish's head. Lu Li dashed into the Kuan fish's soul. Whoosh! As soon as Lu Li dashed in, two streaks of golden energy came at him like two golden dragons. Lu Li flew toward the golden energy and channeled all of it into his body. Dragon Soul, hang on! Lu Li yelled. He had suffered from Yen Hong's spiritual attack before, but that was done by Yen Hong's avatar. This soul attack was Yen Hong's most powerful one. It was 100 times more powerful. Buzzing, the dragon soul glowed at once and wandered around in Lu Li's soul. The two golden dragons entered Lu Li's soul, and the dragon soul began to devour. Okay. Lu Li was relieved to see that the two golden dragons were being devoured by the dragon's soul. He had gambled with his life. If the dragon's soul could not stop it, then his soul would be destroyed in an instant. Kuan fish, let's go! Lu Li yelled. He stayed still in the Kuan fish's soul. The Kuan fish was bitten by the worms of the void. It rolled around in pain. Receiving Lu Li's order, the Kuan fish dashed toward the island. Swish! Yen Hong caught up with the Kuan fish and stabbed at it. The Kuan fish twisted its head. Even though the Kuan fish's body was penetrated every time, its soul was not hit. What is going on? Yen Hong chased after the Kuan fish, shooting out golden energy from his eyes. But the Kuan fish did not stop. Lu Li had stopped every time. Because of Yen Hong's stab, the Kuan fish sensed the danger. Therefore, it dashed toward the island. Closer, closer. Uncle Lee had noticed the island in the distance with psychic power. He also noticed a team of patrolling warriors. They must have noticed something was wrong and were on guard. Master, get ready to go to the island, Uncle Lee told Lu Li. Lu Li checked with psychic power and was delighted. He did not go out at once. Instead, he waited quietly. Little Six, fly the mountain out. When they were 30 miles away from the island, Lu Li told Little Six and Little Six told the Kuan fish to run for his life. Whoosh! At the same time, Lu Li told the worms of the void to bite a hole in the Kuan fish's head. Together with the worms of the void, Lu Li dashed into the Kuan fish's mouth. Coincidentally, the mountain flew out. Lu Li put away the mountain and the worms of the void and asked Little Six to tell the Kuan fish to spit him out. Phew! Chapter 1818. Whoosh! The warriors on the island came to their senses soon. Two of them came to Lu Li's side and put their sabers against Lu Li's head. Lu Li did not move. He said with sincerity, Guys, I am here to join the Omen Island. I am willing to follow the Asmodean Lord. This was what Uncle Lee told Luli. To enter the Omen Island, one must join the Omen Island. Anyone that joined the Omen Island would be marked with the mark of the Omen Island. In the future, even if they were to leave the Omen Island, the 36 forces would not take them in. Therefore, if Luli shouted in public, the warriors of the Omen Island would not make things difficult for him. As expected, the 2 warriors of the Omen Island put away their sabers at once. But one of them looked at Luli's wicked bead. Luli took out the sacred mountain at once. Uncle Lee came out and shouted, "I am Li Tian, the former leader of the Hall of Black Flames. From today on, I will leave the Hall of Black Flames and join the Omen Island. I will follow the Asmodean Lord forever." The 2 warriors nodded. They turned to the outside of the island, because Yen Hong had come out with more than 30 warriors. Yen Hong stared at Luli with overflowing killing intent. The sharp murderous intent spread over. Luli felt pressured even though he was so far away. "Don't move." Uncle Lee waved his hand and said in a low voice. There was a powerful warrior among the warriors who should not be weaker than Yen Hong. Luli and Yen Hong only had 40 or 50 warriors. Yen Hong did not have the courage to kill his way into the island. Luli turned to a powerful warrior in general armor. He was a strong middle-aged man with a mustache. He carried an axe on his shoulder and looked at Yen Hong in a lazy manner. He squinted at Yen Hong without saying anything. "Patriarch Yen, what should we do?" All the warriors of the Hall of Warfare from the Hall of Black Flames gathered around. One of them asked in a low voice. That warrior looked at Luli from the distance and made a gesture of killing. His intention was clear. Yen Hong should lead the warriors and fight for a while. As long as they could kill Luli, they could run away at once. Not even the warriors of the Omen Island could do anything to them. Yen Hong was struggling. Luli was right in front of him. He could lead the more than 30 warriors to fight for a while. If he could seize the chance, he could kill Luli in an instant. The problem was that this was Heavenly Devil Island, and there was a great Devil King on the island. This great Devil King was one of the strongest experts in the second celestial layer. If he angered the great Demon King, he would definitely not be able to escape back to the Black Flame Hall. Besides, the black-bearded man on the island was clearly not someone to be trifled with. Judging from his aura, he should also be a third tribulation heavenly god. He was not completely confident that he could suppress this person. Whoosh! The Kuan fish swung its tail and dashed into the water from the other side. Yen Hong and the others did not stop it. Killing a beast of primordial chaos was meaningless. Luli was the key. "Are you Yen Hong?" When the black-bearded man saw Yen Hong's eyes flickering at him standing motionlessly on the sea for a long time, he said with a hint of mockery, "Do you want to chase after these 2 or not?" If they wanted to chase after him, they could just get on the island. If they didn't want to chase after him, they could just retreat. What was the point of standing here? Don't waste everyone's time. A glint of coldness rose in Yen Hong's eyes. He still didn't move. After the time for a few breaths, he cupped his fists and said, "My friend, one of them is a traitor of the Black Flame Hall, and the other killed my son. Our Grand Master has ordered that they must be killed. Can you do me a favor? If you can help me, I will repay you later." Luli's heart skipped a beat. Uncle Lee waved his hand and said nothing. He was confident. "I cannot help you with this." The black-bearded man did not disappoint Uncle Lee. He shrugged and said, "If you want us to do you a favor, you will have to go to the Devil King. We cannot disobey the Devil King's rules. How about I send you to the Palace of Asmodean, and you can go and meet the Devil King?" Yen Hong and the others were displeased. The Devil King was not on good terms with the 36 forces. He was known for being unruly and would not show any respect to anyone. Yen Hong going to the Palace of Asmodean? He would be carried out as a dead body. "My friend," Yen Hong said with patience, Then how can you let us go in and kill these two? Can you state your terms? First of all, I am not your friend, the black-bearded man said with a smile. Secondly, since these two joined the Omen Island willingly, they are our people. Therefore, if you want to kill them, the only way is to rush in and kill us or go past us and kill them by force. Yen Hong said nothing again. After a while, the black-bearded man said impatiently, Yen Hong, you are the most powerful warrior at the second heaven. How can you be so cowardly? You are acting like a woman. Come on, my axe is thirsting for blood. Come in and fight. If you can beat me, you can do whatever you want. If you still don't move, I'll let the two of them enter the island. The more relaxed the black-bearded man was, the more uncertain Yen Hong was. It was said that warriors of the Omen Island were all crazy. Also, none of the powerful warriors of the Omen Island were on the celestial god list. Nobody knew their real abilities. What if he could not kill this man and Luli? He would be hunted down by the Omen Island. The rules of the Omen Island were clear. If warriors of the 36 forces stepped onto the Omen Island and refused to join the Omen Island, they would be killed without mercy. Fight! A glint of determination rose in Yen Hong's eyes. If he could not kill Luli, it was highly likely that he would be killed when he returned to the Hall of Black Flames. He might as well take the risk. What if he could kill Luli and escape successfully? Charge! Yen Hong shouted. Golden rays of light shot out from his eyes. He locked onto the black-bearded man and released more than a dozen soul attacks. At the same time, he dashed over and drew an arc in the air. His spear glared. He only hoped that he could kill Luli in one move. Ha ha! The black-bearded man laughed. He swung the axe in his hand. The sky changed color. The wind howled, pierced through gold and cracked stones. Space trembled. A huge illusion of an axe condensed in midair, and without any warning, chopped down on Yen Hong's head. Bang! Yen Hong was smashed away. He spat out blood in midair. His face was a bloody mess. There was the Chaos Heaven armor on his head, but his head was almost smashed. Swish! The black-bearded man swung his axe again. A shadow of an axe appeared on the left side of the sky. This time, half of the more than 30 warriors of the Hall of Warfare were cut in half. It was as easy as cutting chives. Axe demon? Run! Yen Hong's frightened voice resounded. His body turned into a rainbow light and shot out like a sharp arrow. He even rushed into the sea and disappeared in the blink of an eye. Whoosh! The rest of the warriors of the Hall of Warfare of the Hall of Black Flames ran away and disappeared into the sea. The black-bearded man didn't give the order to chase after them. The others didn't even attack. They just quietly watched the black-bearded man's performance. Axe demon! Uncle Lee's eyes glowed. He was excited. He knew this man was a powerful warrior, but he didn't expect him to be one of the 10 assassin generals of the Demon King. Years ago, the Demon King and the 10 assassin generals crushed 3 super forces. The Demon King and the 10 assassin generals were famous in the second heaven. But Uncle Lee had only heard of the name of Axe Demon. Today, he finally saw him in person. Li Tian greets Lord Axe Demon. Thank you for saving my life. Li Tian bowed with sincerity. Luli came to his senses. He bowed as well and said, Thank you for saving my life, Lord. Chapter 18-19. Luli blinked in confusion. Li Tian thought about it and explained in a low voice, There are 3 ways to join the Omen Island. The first way is to become an island warrior. The second way is to get an islander badge. But everyone has to hand over 100 pieces of divine origin gold. With the badge, you will be protected by the island warrior. You will be safer on the island. The third way is to become an average islander. Apart from the island warrior, anyone on the island can harm you. Luli understood as soon as Li Tian explained. But he had one question, what is divine origin gold? Li Tian said, It is made from divine sources. 1 piece of divine origin gold is equal to 10 billion divine sources. What? Luli touched his nose in embarrassment. He had many divine sources, but 100 pieces of divine origin gold was equivalent to 10 billion divine sources. How could he afford that? If he had known that he would need divine sources at the second heaven, he could have gotten more at the land of Yuyen. He asked in embarrassment, Li Tian, do you have 200 pieces of divine origin gold? I only have 10 billion divine sources. No. Li Tian was embarrassed as well. He said, I have given all my divine sources to the Hall of Black Flame and traded them for a chaos treasure not long ago. I only have 1 billion divine sources left. Alright, since you don't have any divine origin gold, I don't think you want to join the island warrior. Good luck. Axe Demon waved his hand and led his team away lazily. Li Tian brought Luli into the island at once. They were still at the edge of the island. If Yen Hong came back, they would be killed in an instant. Uncle Li and Luli strode on for tens of thousands of miles before they entered a mountain. Uncle Li and Luli felt relieved. They looked at each other and smiled as if they had just survived a disaster. They were alive. They made it to the Omen Island. Li Tian thought he was doomed. Before Luli could control the Koan fish, he didn't think he could make it to the Omen Island alive either. Even though it was not completely safe on the island, they were happy that they could make it. Luli went into a small cave. He decided to take a rest here, and at the same time, ask about the Omen Island and figure out what to do next. Do you know the situation on the Heavenly Devil Island? Luli asked. Li Tian thought about it and said, some, but not all. As a matter of fact, the outside world doesn't know much about the Omen Island because the scouts of the major forces don't dare to come in. It can't be, right? Luli could not figure it out. The 36 forces could have sent some secret agents to the Omen Island to gather information before sending it out. If the two of them could easily join Heavenly Devil Island, then it would be even easier for small cultivators to join. After they had investigated the situation clearly, they could leave Heavenly Devil Island. They could even hide on the island forever. It's not that we can't find out what's going on. We just don't want to offend the Great Demon King. Uncle Li forced a smile and said, the Great Demon Monarch is very famous in the second heavenly layer. She rarely takes the initiative to provoke others, but anyone who has offended her is now dead. Among them, one of the 36 major factions, the Purple Sun Palace, had been annihilated by her and the 10 slaughter generals. Therefore, unless there are special circumstances, no major forces are willing to offend the Great Demon King. Naturally, they won't send scouts to investigate. Luli was surprised and asked, the Great Demon King is a woman? Yes, and she is a very beautiful, and dangerous lady. Uncle Li nodded and said, she is the dream girl of many powerful warriors. Many people set conquering her as their life goal. Back in the days, the master of the palace of Ziyang lusted after her beauty and flirted with the Great Demon King, which led to the destruction of the palace of Ziyang. Luli was taken aback. The possibility of a woman becoming a powerful warrior was very low. In the entire divinity, Ling Qingyan and the master of the craftsman's sect were the only 2 female powerful warriors. The most important thing was that the nickname of the Great Demon King gave people the impression that she was a fiendish monster. Luli didn't expect that she was a stunning beauty. The Omen Island is huge. It is a heavenly island. Uncle Li told Luli what he knew. This island is about 10 times the size of the land of Yuyen. There are many caves and mountains on the island, but they are all occupied by powerful warriors. There are only 3 cities on the island. To enter the cities, you need divine origin gold. To live in the cities, you need a large amount of divine origin gold. Apart from the cities, no other place is safe. Of course, if you have an islander badge, you will be safer. The island guards will patrol the island from time to time. Anyone who dares to kill an islander will be hunted down by the island guards. Uncle Lee told Luli everything he knew. Luli became more and more worried. The Omen Island was another land of Yuyen, and it was more dangerous than the land of Yuyen. Especially since they didn't have an islander badge, it would be even more dangerous. Even if someone wanted to kill them in front of the island guards, because they were not islander, the island guards would not do anything and watch them be killed. Nowhere on the Omen Island was safe unless they could enter the 3 cities. But in the cities, they had to hand in a piece of divine origin gold every day. Luli and Uncle Lee combined the amount of divine origin they had could only go into the cities to have a look. They couldn't even spend the night there. According to Uncle Lee, there were tens of millions of warriors on the Omen Island. Most of them were hiding in some caves and mountains to cultivate. Some of them were patrolling around, looking for lone warriors to rob and kill. At first glance, Luli and Uncle Lee were like lambs that could be easily targeted by others. What was more, Uncle Lee said, Yen Hong would not let this go. He would bribe some powerful warriors to go to the Omen Island to hunt Luli and Luli down. As long as the reward was offered, powerful warriors from small forces nearby would be happy to go to the Omen Island. Danger lurked everywhere. I have to think of a way to get into the cities. Luli sighed. Only in the cities could he be completely safe. Only in this way could he cultivate in peace and improve his abilities. Luli was still too weak. Uncle Lee's primordial treasure was given to Ling Qinyan by Luli. Uncle Lee's abilities had been reduced as well. Master, how about we go and join the island guards? Uncle Lee thought of an idea. He said, as long as we join the island guards, we will be completely safe. Nobody will dare to do anything to us even if Yen Hong offers us a huge reward. The devil of the island guards will be furious. None of us will be able to survive. Are there any conditions to join the island guards? What do we have to pay? Luli asked after some thoughts. Nothing. Uncle Lee explained, all of our abilities can join the island guards. But once we join, we cannot leave at will. We must serve for 100,000 years before we can quit. Otherwise, we will be regarded as traitors and we will be hunted down mercilessly. So far, I haven't heard of anyone daring to run away. 100,000 years, Luli was speechless. Even 1,000 years was a long time for him, let alone 100,000 years. To be trapped in the island for 100,000 years? He would rather die than live like that. Let's go, let's go. After the second heavenly tribulation, the number of heavenly tribulations will gradually increase. For the second heavenly tribulation, you will need to overcome 4 heavenly tribulations. For the third heavenly tribulation, you will need to overcome 5 heavenly tribulations, and so on. The second heavenly tribulation has an additional test regarding the profundities of the laws. It's called the Dharmic Tao tribulation. If you don't comprehend a powerful law's profound meaning, you will die miserably. However, Master, you don't have to think so much for now. Your divine power and soul spirit are definitely not at the stage of the second heavenly tribulation. Your physical body is very strong and you have passed. Master's current cultivation is still focused on cultivating his divine power, soul, and physical body. Of course, it would be good if he could continue to improve his physical body. At your current realm, it will be difficult for you to improve your divine power and soul quickly unless you can go to places of treasures like the Primordial Secret Realm or the Primordial Secret Realm. Luli was curious. He asked, what is the Primordial Secret Realm? That is the best place for cultivation. Uncle Lee's eyes glowed with hope. In our world, there are some miraculous places where the Xian Qi in heaven and earth is so rich that it can be liquefied. You don't have to cultivate there. Just breathing there can increase your divine power. When you cultivate there, your soul will grow quickly. There are many marks of great Tao that explain the laws of heaven and earth. It is easier to learn laws and principles in those places. In short, those places are the best for cultivators. If you can go there once, your abilities will improve by leaps and bounds. That amazing! Luli was even more curious. Li Tian, have you been to the primordial secret realm? How can I be so lucky? Uncle Li forced a smile. I don't even have the right to go to the lowest level, the primordial secret realm and the primordial secret realm. There is no primordial secret realm on the second plane. There is only one primordial secret realm and 3 primordial secret realms. The 3 primordial secret realms are occupied by the 36 forces. As for the primordial secret realm, it is sealed. It opens once every 100 years. Only 30 people are allowed to go in each time. Those who are older are not allowed to enter. Every time, only the monstrous geniuses of the younger generation can enter. Not to mention me, even Yen Hong doesn't have the qualifications to enter. Why is it sealed? Luli could not figure it out. Wouldn't it create more powerful warriors by letting more warriors in? Also, why couldn't the older ones go in? Wouldn't it be faster for the powerful ones to go in? Because the older ones would be too slow to progress. It would be a waste of opportunities. Uncle Li explained, the younger one is, the faster he can progress. The more potential he has in the future. Leaders of the 36 forces and many powerful warriors on the top 100 of the Celestial God list have gone in when they were young. As for why it is sealed, it is because they don't want to consume too much of the spiritual energy in the primordial secret realm. The primordial secret realm is a treasure of the second plane. Destroying it would be a great loss to the second plane. Therefore, 1,000,000 years ago, the forces set the rule. The primordial secret realm is opened once every 100 years and only 30 young people can go in. They can only cultivate in there for 1 year. Luli was still confused. He asked, there are so many forces. How do they choose the 30? The 36 forces take turns? No. Uncle Li waved his hand. Not only the 36 forces, but all the young warriors of the second plane have the chance to enter the primordial secret realm, including you. If you want to go to the primordial secret realm, you must compete. Every time before the primordial secret realm is opened, there will be a contest of geniuses. Only warriors under 1,000 years old can compete. The top 30 can go to the primordial secret realm to cultivate. Young people under 1,000 years old. Luli was speechless. For the mortal world, a warrior of 1,000 years would be considered a very old man. But in the second plane, warriors were young. That being said, warriors of the second plane were strong and had endless life. 1,000 years was just a blink of an eye for them. Master, work hard. Uncle Li encouraged, Master, you are so young. The next primordial secret realm will be opened in 8 years. If you can be more powerful than me now, maybe you can make it to the top 30. Then you will have the chance to go to the primordial secret realm. Me? Luli forced a smile. He was being hunted down by the Hall of Black Flames. If he dared to leave the Omen Island, he would be killed right away. That was something that was far away. He should focus on how to survive on the Omen Island. Buzzing, while they were talking, a breeze suddenly blew over from the front and swept over Luli and Uncle Li. Chapter 1821. This man's psychic power was strong. Luli could not tell where he was, but Uncle Li did. This person was sitting cross-legged at the bottom of the small mountain in front of them, cultivating. Maybe Luli and Uncle Li's passing by alerted him, and he was disturbed, which was why he wanted to kill Luli. Uncle Li stopped. He already had the heavy sword in his hand. He looked at Luli and winked at him, telling him to get ready for battle. Luli took out the saber in his left hand and the mountain in his right. He was ready with both hands. He was a little nervous because he didn't know what level the enemy who was investigating them was at. Here he is. Charge, Uncle Lee suddenly shouted. At the same time, Luli felt the ground under his feet was shaking. He checked with psychic power and saw a sword coming at him at a horrifying speed. Whoosh! Luli leaped up and swung his saber down. This time, he released the Slayer's ghost cut and used the force in heaven and earth. Luli did not hope to kill this man. He only hoped that the force in heaven and earth could affect this man and help Uncle Lee. Boom! After Luli's attack, Uncle Lee rushed into the ground and hacked at the warriors coming up from below with his heavy sword. That warrior was slowed down a bit. That being said, his expressions did not change. He swung his sword and Uncle Lee's sword for hundreds of moves. Clank, 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 muffled noises were heard. The ground was peeled off layer by layer. Soon, a huge pit appeared. Dust billowed, covering the sky and the earth. The murderous intent spread out, making the space even more suffocating. Buzzing, Luli went into the mountain without hesitation. He made the mountain as small as a speck of dust. He flew the mountain toward that warrior. What? Uncle Lee did not know why Luli was doing this, but Luli must have his reasons. Uncle Lee could not say much. He had to keep on attacking to keep the powerful warrior from underground at bay. Uncle Lee knew very well that this warrior was more powerful than him. At the beginning, Uncle Lee had the upper hand. Therefore, they were evenly matched. Once the warrior caught his breath, Uncle Lee would be at a disadvantage. Luli flew the mountain over. That warrior did not mind. As far as he was concerned, Luli was too weak. He could kill Luli in one move even if he were to sneak up on Luli. Li Tian, step back. When the mountain came down, Luli suddenly shouted. When Uncle Lee heard the voice, he immediately retreated without any hesitation. Light flashed within the God Mountain, and then a sky full of bugs flew out. Because there were too many of them, they were also very fast. That warrior wanted to kill Luli in one move, so he never thought about running away. Naturally, he was enveloped by the worms of the void. The void worm turned into a shadow and entered the warrior's body. The warrior's expression changed. He raised the sword in his hand and slashed at the God Mountain. Although the divine mountain had shrunk to the size of a thumb, it was still accurately struck and sent flying. Uncle Lee, I'll leave it to you, Luli said. He did not dare to let the mountain fight head-on anymore. He released several 100 million void worms, and half of them entered this martial artist's body. Even if they couldn't bite him to death, they could still affect him somewhat. Whoosh! What surprised Luli was that the man suddenly jumped down and moved quickly underground. Before Uncle Lee could attack, he had run away. Uncle Lee wanted to go after him, but on second thoughts, he decided not to. They were unfamiliar with the place and people. The first thing they wanted to do was to settle down here, not to loot and kill. Let's go. He waved his hand to Luli. Luli dashed out from the God Mountain, put it away and ran away with Uncle Lee. While running, Uncle Lee asked, "Those worms of yours are good. When we run into enemies, we can use them to help." Okay. Luli realized that the worms of the void were powerful. As long as they could enter a warrior's body, the rest would be easy. The only drawback was that compared to warriors at the second plane, the worms of the void were too slow. But since Li Tian was the main attacker, Luli had a chance. Usually, enemies would not pay attention to him. After all, he was too weak. As long as he could get close to enemies, he would have the chance to release the worms of the void. Right, Li Tian? Luli thought of something and asked, "Is there a way to evolve the worms of the void? If so, then we won't have to be afraid of average second tribulation gods. The worms can split and there are endless numbers." Li Tian knew something about the worms of the void, but he didn't know that they could split endlessly. Li Tian frowned and said, "I don't know much about insects and bewitching insects. There is a force at the second plane that is good at this. But insects and bewitching insects can be bred. We can figure something out later." Luli was disappointed. Thousands of miles later, he flew to a mountain. He stopped and said, "Uncle Lee, we should find a warrior of the Omen Island and ask about the Omen Island. We can't just wander around aimlessly. What if we run into a team of powerful warriors? We won't even be able to run away." Sure. Uncle Lee was worried as well. Neither of them were particularly fast. Once they ran into powerful enemies, they would not be able to run away. Luli thought about it and said, "How about we find a mountain to hide in and I will build some formations to hide our energy? Master, you know how to build formations? Is the spell formation setup strong?" Uncle Lee was surprised. It would take a long time to study formations. Luli had just ascended to the immortal world. Theoretically speaking, even if he could build formations, it wouldn't be strong. "It's okay," Luli said casually. "My skills are not as good as those of the second realm. But I think I am one of the best in the divinity." "Best?" Uncle Lee was shocked. He looked at Luli as if he was a freak. Soon, Uncle Lee became excited. He looked around and said, "I don't think we should pick a better place. Let's go to that mountain. It is so tall and eye-catching. We will build formations in there." Sure. Luli flew up and soon arrived at the mountain. They checked around to make sure that there was nobody in there. Luli found a small cave. He took out his weapons and started digging. They went to the center of the mountain. Then Luli got to work. He didn't build formations of destruction or confusion. Instead, he built a formation of illusion and a formation to seal off space. In this way, people from the outside would not be able to detect their energy if they were not careful enough. 4 hours later, Luli was done. Uncle Lee flew over, checked with psychic power and was full of praises. Luli's skills in building formations were not good at the second realm. That being said, it was already commendable that he could do this. Average second tribulation heaven gods would not be able to detect Luli without careful inspection. Chapter 1822. While Luli and Uncle Lee were waiting at the Omen Island, the divinity and the land of Yuyen were bustling with noise and excitement. Almost all the powerful warriors of the land of Yuyen were here in the city of King of Yen. The city had been renovated and the atmosphere was joyous. 100,000 people gathered in the plaza. They stood in line, waiting quietly. Ling Qinyan stood in front of a huge teleportation formation in the plaza. She said nothing. Nobody in the plaza dared to say a word. Everyone was waiting quietly. As a matter of fact, many people were wondering why Ling Qinyan had gathered them here. With such a large force, could it be that a celestial Layer 2 expert had descended? Or was it to welcome Luli's return? Luli had been missing for a long time. Nobody knew where he had gone. Some people suspected that Luli was recovering in a place because he was badly injured. It was highly possible that Ling Qinyan had made such a big scene to welcome Luli. Buzzing, an hour later, the huge teleportation formation in the middle finally glowed. Everyone's attention was on the teleportation formation, waiting for the arrival of Luli or the mysterious warrior. The teleportation formation glowed for a long time. After an hour, the glow died down. More than a dozen people showed up in the teleportation formation. The leader was familiar. It was Pan Yuqin, the new Pan King. But the rest of the people didn't recognize a single one of them. After everyone glanced at them, their faces were filled with bewilderment. That was because all of them were not divine spirit. They were mortals. What? The more than a dozen people were scared as well. They had been teleporting for a long time. They were in a daze. When they finally came to their senses, they saw that they were surrounded by 100,000 people. The 100,000 people all had horrifying energy. They were all immortals. Many immortals were so powerful that they could hardly breathe. Ling Qinyan smiled. She raised her hand. The 100,000 people came back to their senses. They dropped to one knee and shouted, "Welcome, my lords!" The 100,000 people shouted at the same time. Their voices echoed in the clouds. The 100,000 people were embarrassed. After all, they were all immortals. Many of them were mighty warriors in the divinity, and some of them were super mighty warriors. But now, they were addressing more than a dozen mortals as lords? It was as if a group of adults were kneeling to some kids. But Ling Qinyan had given the order that they must be greeted with the highest standard. They had no choice but to kneel. Many people's eyes flickered as they tried to guess the identities of these people. Without a special identity, how could Ling Qinyan give such a high-standard welcome ceremony? "I am Ling Qinyan, the Prince of Yen. Nice to meet you all." Ling Qinyan took a step forward, bowed and said, "I am Lu Li's friend. These three must be Lu Li's great-grandpa, grandpa and father?" The three Ling Qinyan was looking at were Patriarch of Law Enforcement, Lu Xingyang and Lu Renhuang. Lu Xingyang was a bit nervous. Patriarch of Law Enforcement and Lu Renhuang, on the other hand, were calmer. The Patriarch of Law Enforcement said, "I am Lu Suiying. Greetings, Prince of Yen." Ling Qinyan nodded. She walked over, held the hands of Jiang Qiling, Bai Qiushu and Bai Xiaoshuang and said, "You must be Lu Li's wives. Lu Li told us about you guys." Jiang Qiling nodded with a smile and said, "Nice to meet you, Sister Ling. Let's head into the castle first. We'll talk about this later." Ling Qinyan looked around with a smile and said, "Listen up. These are Lu Li's family and friends. From now on, they will be my family. Anyone who dares to disrespect them will be killed on the spot. Lord Lu's family is our family. We will not let go of anyone who dares to offend us." A super almighty from the immortal world roared, and the others followed suit. Everyone's expressions became respectful. Who was Lu Li? He was the supreme being in the divinity. He was the savior of the divinity. Who would dare to offend his family? Not to mention Ling Qinyan, no one here would let him go. Jiang Hua, Prajna Yi Luo and the others were moved. They knew that Lu Li had a good life in the divinity, but they did not know that he was doing so well. Why did so many powerful warriors support him? Ling Qinyan led the group into the castle, followed by Pan Yuqin and the other immortal kings of the new generation. The others were not allowed to enter the castle. Outside the castle, there were many beautiful maids on their knees. A red carpet was laid out from the inside to the outside. It was of a high standard. Everyone felt restrained when they entered the castle. The others did not dare to say anything. They just sat there nervously. Patriarch of Law Enforcement sat down. He cupped his fists and said, "Prince of Yen, may I ask, where is Lu Li?" Jiang Qiling and the others sat up straight. When Pan Yuqin went to pick them up, she did not mention anything about Lu Li. She only took Lu Li's token and brought them to the divinity. As for how to bring them to the divinity, it was easy. Pan Yuqin arranged for people to build teleportation formations in several secret realms and in the void. Then, she brought them from the purgatory of primordial chaos to the void and teleported them to the divinity. Since Lu Li could go to the purgatory of primordial chaos from the void, Pan Yuqin could bring them to the divinity from the void. Lu Li is not in the divinity. Ling Qinyan's words surprised everyone. Apart from Pan Yuqin, no one else knew that Lu Li was not in the divinity. Jiang Qiling, Bai Qiushu and the others were disappointed. They thought they could see Lu Li as soon as they came to the divinity. When can he come back? Patriarch of Law Enforcement asked again. Ling Qinyan answered with a smile, "I am not sure. A year at the shortest and a dozen years at the longest. He is going to a faraway place. Before he left, he told me to take good care of you. Don't worry. I am indebted to Lu Li. He once saved me and the entire Yuyan land and even the lives of all civilians in the divinity. I don't think I have any worthy opponents in the divinity. Therefore, nobody can hurt you. I will give you the best resources to help the Lu family establish a foothold in the divinity and become a super force. Yes, yes. That is right. Lu Li is the savior of the divinity. We are all indebted to him. You can stay here with peace of mind. If anyone dares to disrespect you, we will not let them go. Lord Lu's family is the honored guest of the 9 immortal masters and of all civilians in the divinity. Nobody dares to disrespect you. Just stay here and wait for Lord Lu to come back. The other godly kings chimed in with respectful expressions. Jiang Qiling, Bai Qiuxue, and Bai Xiaoshuang were all stunning beauties. However, none of them dared to have any blasphemous thoughts because they were Lu Li's women. Yuqin. Ling Qinyan looked at Pan Yuqin and said, "Go and take care of the Lu family. Bring all the Lu family members here. I will take care of them. Elders, do you think it is a good idea to give the southern part of the king of Yen City to the Lu family? Or should we build a separate city next to it?" The other immortal masters were stunned by Prince of Yan's generosity. Half of the king of Yen City to the Lu family? How many people could the Lu family have? The king of Yen City was a large city. Tens of millions of people could live here. Well, I don't think it is necessary. Just give us some manners. Patriarch of Law Enforcement was taken aback as well. He had just checked the city and there was no end to it. Who could tell how large it was? The total number of the Lu family members was over 100,000. Most of them were too weak to teleport. Only 2,000 or 3,000 could come to the divinity. Why would they need such a large territory? Chapter 1823. Nobody is here yet. Lu Li and Uncle Li had been waiting in the mountain for 10 days. Nobody came by. Though not impatient, they did find it strange. There were so many people at the Omen Island. How come nobody came by? Lu Li thought he might as well cultivate. Uncle Li had been checking and there were small inhibition formations nearby. Lu Li could tell if someone was going to trigger them. He continued to comprehend the state of the cryptic spirit realm. He had made great progress recently, and it wouldn't be long before the state of the cryptic spirit realm would evolve and reach a deeper state. 3 days later, Lu Li suddenly opened his eyes. Uncle Li saw the surprise in Lu Li's eyes and asked, "What is it?" "The one who attacked us a few days ago is nearby," Lu Li explained. "He touched the inhibition formations?" Uncle Li was nervous. He frowned and said, "Even if he did, how do you know that he is the one who attacked us that day?" "Because of the worms of the void," Lu Li said. "He still has worms of the void in him. I have a mother worm that can sense the child worms. There are at least 1 billion worms of the void in him. I can feel it." "He cannot dissolve the worms of the void?" Uncle Li was excited. He had an idea and said, "Can you control the worms of the void to attack him? If you can injure him badly, we will have a chance to take him down." Lu Li shook his head. "He is too far away. I cannot control the subsidiary worms. I need to get closer." "Then let's try closer." Uncle Li was eager to take action. Lu Li believed that since the warrior could not dissolve the worms of the void after such a long time, he could control the worms of the void to attack him at any time. Lu Li nodded and dashed out with Uncle Li. The two of them hurried on. Based on the connection with the worms of the void, Lu Li was able to locate them easily. Up ahead, outside a valley, Lu Li stopped and gave an order to the mother worm. The child worms in the warrior's body surged and began to bite the warrior. Bang! A dull explosion sounded from the canyon in front of him, and a person shot out from the ground. His face was filled with pain as he rolled in the air. Soon, he smashed into a huge mountain. At the same time, he was screaming in agony. Uncle Li watched from afar, his face filled with shock. He had thought that there would be a big fight. Little did he know that Lu Li's bugs were so powerful. It seemed that he didn't even have to do anything for the warrior. The bugs could bite the warrior to death. They were so close that Luli could sense the warrior's condition through the connection between the mother insect and the child insect. That martial artist should have refined a portion of the void worms. Moreover, the speed of the void worms in that martial artist's body was very slow. It seemed that this martial artist still had a way to suppress the void worms. Unfortunately, there were too many of them. Bang, bang, bang! That warrior kept crashing into the mountain, causing the nearby mountains to collapse and boulders to tumble down. From time to time, he would even smash a large pit in the ground. If we wait any longer, this person will only be left with half a life, Luli said softly. He could tell that the worms of the void were gnawing away at the man's internal organs. They were almost gone. This person's fleshly body was very powerful. The void worm's biting speed was very slow, and the defense of his 5 viscera and 6 bowels wasn't very strong. Bang bang! After the time for 1 incense stick to burn, that warrior could no longer fly. Many of his energy channels were broken. He could no longer circulate divine energy around his body. Luli did not move. He continued to control the worms of the void to gnaw away at the man's body, injuring him so that he could no longer fight. After the time for half an incense stick to burn, Luli waved his hand and said, "Uncle Lee, that man must be badly injured. Let's go." "Master, wait here. I will go and have a look." Uncle Lee told Luli to wait here. After all, Luli's defense was much weaker and he could be killed instantly. Uncle Lee rushed over by himself. When he arrived, he swung his sword and attacked the warrior. Then, he shouted to Luli, "Master, it's okay now. Come here." Luli came. He took a look at the warrior. Blood was flowing out from his eyes, ears, nose, and mouth. The warrior was twitching. He looked miserable. Luli stopped the worms of the void. He thought about it and said, "How about we take him to the cave first?" "Sure." Uncle Lee grabbed the warrior's shoulder. His hand glowed with divine energy. A moment later, he took out an interspatial artifact and put the warrior in. Uncle Lee said, "I have sealed off his divine energy. He will not be in danger. Let's go." Luli was excited. At least he could learn something about the Omen Island if he captured a warrior. He would not be in a dead end without knowing it. They went back to the mountain. Uncle Lee took out the interspatial artifact and said, "Master, keep an eye on the outside. I will go in and get some information." Luli asked with concern, "Can you get all the information?" "Ha ha." Uncle Lee grinned coldly. "Master, I used to be in the Hall of Combat of the Hall of Dark Flames. I have many ways to interrogate people. Wait here. In 2 hours at most, I will get all the information. If I can't, I will search his soul. He does not have an enchanted soul to protect his soul." Uncle Lee went into the interspatial artifact. Luli waited anxiously while keeping his guard up. Now, it was all up to Uncle Lee. Luli hoped that after the information was clear, they could go somewhere safe. Staying here was not the way to go. 2 hours later, a tower next to Luli glowed as 2 people came out. Luli was surprised. Out of instinct, he put his guard up. He was relieved to see Uncle Lee smiling. "Master, don't worry. I have Yuan Bing under my control. He will not hurt you. Master, you can call back the worms and let Yuan Bing tend to his wounds," Uncle Lee explained. Luli's eyes glowed. Yuan Bing was more powerful than Uncle Lee. Under Uncle Lee's control, Luli and Luli could protect themselves better. Luli took back all the worms of the void. Uncle Lee waved his hand. Yuan Bing sat on the ground to tend to his wounds. Luli glanced at Yuan Bing and asked, "Are you absolutely sure?" "Ha ha." Uncle Lee grinned coldly. "I have poisoned him, and it has infiltrated his soul. If he dares to do anything out of the ordinary, he will be poisoned to death as soon as he has the slightest intention to kill." Master, don't worry. I have learned many vicious methods in the Hall of Dark Flames. Lu Li was relieved. Did you get anything out of him? Chapter 1824. Cloud Mountain. Lu Li frowned and asked with curiosity, "Why do we have to go to this mountain? Isn't this place occupied by powerful warriors? What are we going to do here?" "This place is suitable for cultivation," Uncle Li explained. "Cloud Mountain is occupied by powerful warriors, but the management is lax. Anyone who is willing to join the Cloud Mountain will be protected by the Cloud Mountain. As long as you don't violate the rules of the Cloud Mountain, you can cultivate here in peace. You don't have to do anything. Also, the Cloud Mountain is the safest because the master of the Cloud Mountain is the Demon King's favorite sister." "No wonder." Lu Li nodded. According to Uncle Li, the Cloud Mountain was indeed the best place for the two of them. Not only was it safe, but there were also no restrictions. The spiritual qi was abundant, suitable for cultivation. Uncle Li then explained to Lu Li about the other places of the Omen Island. It took him an hour to get a better understanding of the Omen Island. The most powerful force on the Omen Island was, of course, the Demon King's side, followed by the 5 mountains. The largest of the 5 mountains was the Cloud Mountain. The other 4 mountains were occupied by the 4 powerful warriors. The powerful warriors that occupied the 4 mountains were all 3 Tribulation Heaven God. They were powerful. That being said, there were many rules for joining the 4 mountains. It would be troublesome to leave after joining. The other mountains were not safe. Wars could break out at any time. Masters of the mountains changed frequently. Apart from the 3 cities and the 5 mountains, there were frequent battles in other places. The Demon King had set down the rules. As long as the battles were not fought in the cities and the islanders were not killed in front of the island warriors, she wouldn't care about anything else. Even if hundreds of thousands of people in a mountain were to be slaughtered, she would pretend she didn't know about it. It was because of this attitude of the Demon King that many people were attracted to the Omen Island, especially warriors that had offended some forces at the second heaven. They had nowhere to go. Only in places like the Omen Island could more and more powerful warriors gather here. The Demon King wasn't afraid that someone would challenge her position. If someone thought they were more powerful than her, they could challenge her at any time. If they could defeat her, the entire Omen Island would be given to them. There were people who challenged the great Demon King in history, but they were all mercilessly killed in the end. The great Demon King didn't care what others said about her. As long as they didn't go to the heavenly demon city and scold her in front of her, for example, if a few people insulted her in private, she would ignore it even if she got the news. The great Demon King's breadth of mind made her especially respected and loved on the heavenly Devil Island. There were many invasions, and all the powerhouses on the island were mobilized to follow the great Demon King to resist the enemies. Usually, their internal strife might be very serious, but once an enemy invaded, the entire heavenly Devil Island would become especially united. Because the great Demon King's prestige was so high, no one dared to bully her clan sister. Skycloud Mountain became the safest place aside from the 3 cities, which was why Uncle Li suggested going to Skycloud Mountain. "Then let's go to Skycloud Mountain." Lu Li nodded. Uncle Li's judgment was the same as his. Going to the Cloud Mountain now was indeed the best choice. They needed a safe and quiet place. Lu Li needed to cultivate. Without enough power, he could not go anywhere. Lu Li's strength was at the bottom of the second heaven. Apart from finding a place to cultivate, there was nothing he could do. Yuan Bing had not recovered yet. Lu Li and Uncle Li were not in a hurry. It was some distance from here to Skycloud Mountain. Even if nothing happened along the way, it would take at least 2 or 3 months. 2 or 3 more days wouldn't make a difference. Yuan Bing recovered quickly. In 2 days, he was almost fully recovered. When he woke up, he knelt to Li Tian at once and said, "Lord." Yuan Bing was more powerful than Uncle Li, but he was in a disadvantageous position. His life was in Uncle Li's hands, so he had to bow. Uncle Li nodded, pointed to Lu Li and said, "Young master." Yuan Bing bowed to Lu Li with fear and said, "Greetings, young master." Lu Li's worms of the void had made Yuan Bing suffer. Naturally, Yuan Bing hated Lu Li to the bone. But he dared not to show it or he would be killed by Uncle Li in an instant. "Let's go to Skycloud Mountain." Lu Li waved his hand and went into the mountain. The mountain turned into a small ball and flew to Uncle Li's hand. This was what Lu Li and Uncle Li had discussed. Uncle Li would take Lu Li with him. This way, it would be safer and faster. At critical moments, Lu Li could use the worms of the void to launch sneak attacks. Uncle Li asked Yuan Bing to lead the way. Yuan Bing was more familiar with the Omen Island. He had been here for many years. Previously, he followed a team of powerful warriors to roam around the island, robbing warriors of low realms. Not long ago, his team ran into a powerful warrior. Most of them were killed and the survivors ran away in different directions. Yuan Bing was lucky enough to survive and made it here. Little did he know that he would fail miserably. With Yuan Bing leading the way, the journey was much safer. Yuan Bing knew very well where some old warriors lived. He led Lu Li around for more than 10 days, but they didn't run into anyone. On the 16th day, Yuan Bing suddenly stopped, and Uncle Li also looked ahead with a face full of wariness. There were muffled explosions in front of them, which meant that there were people fighting ahead. "Let's go around." Uncle Li didn't want to go and watch. If it was two powerful warriors fighting, they would be killed by mistake. It was better not to go and watch such a show. They didn't want to watch, but the show had come to them. As soon as they flew around from the left, they saw a team rushing over from the distance. Uncle Li and Yuan Bing hid. Clearly, there were two groups fighting above them. They didn't want to get involved and suffer undeserved misfortune. There were more than 50 people on both sides. Now, there were more than 30 people chasing after more than 20. Even though most of the warriors were weaker than Yuan Bing and Uncle Li, they had the advantage in numbers. Once they were surrounded and killed, it would be troublesome. Whoosh! Luckily, the warriors in front were in a hurry to escape and the warriors behind didn't notice Uncle Li and Uncle Li. The group of people quickly flew past Uncle Li and Yuan Bing in the blink of an eye. All of a sudden, someone said in surprise. He looked at Uncle Li and Yuan Bing and shouted, "There are two hiding here." Swish, 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 more than a dozen divine senses scanned the area. The warrior in front shouted, "Leave 4 of you to kill them. The rest of you keep chasing." Whoosh! The 4 people at the back flew backwards, and one of them sent out a palm strike from afar. The mountain that Uncle Li and Yuan Bing were on was shaken off, and dust filled the sky. Boulders flew everywhere, and the mountain collapsed. Whoosh! Li Tian and Yuan Bing soared into the sky. The two of them did not fight. Instead, they flew north. It was not that the two of them were afraid of the 4 cultivators. Rather, they were afraid that a fight with the 4 cultivators would attract even more cultivators. Thus, the two of them decided to put some distance between themselves and the 4 cultivators. If the 4 cultivators continued to follow them, they would fight them. Li Tian and Yuan Bing's speed was very fast, but the 4 of them were not afraid. They felt that there were 4 of them, and there were only 2 of them, so they had a chance to kill Li Tian and Yuan Bing. Chapter 1825. Charge! Uncle Li roared. He and Yuan Bing turned around at the same time. The two of them locked onto one person and attacked. 2 shocking streams of light shot out. The warrior at the front tried to dodge, but it was too late. He was smashed away by the 2 streaks of light. Courting death. The other 3 were enraged. One of them turned into a shadow, and appeared next to Yuan Bing the next second. The warrior clawed at Yuan Bing's back. Yuan Bing stabbed back with his sword. He didn't expect that the warrior was wearing a chaos armor. Yuan Bing's sword could not pierce through. Bang! Yuan Bing was smashed away. His back was covered in blood. If it weren't for the fact that he was strong, he would have been pierced by the claw. At the same time, the other two warriors dashed over to Uncle Li and began to attack him. Buzzing! Uncle Li suddenly vanished into thin air. A small mountain glowed, and then swarms of worms flew out. One of the two warriors reacted quickly and ran away at once. The other one was enveloped by the worms of the void. Bang! The divine mountain rapidly enlarged and slammed into the man, sending him crashing into a nearby mountain. Then, with a flash of light, Uncle Li came out and smashed at the warrior's head with his heavy sword. Ah! The worms of the void inside the warrior began to gnaw at him. He was in a panic when Uncle Li came at him with his heavy sword. He forgot to dodge and was hit on the head. Bang! Uncle Li had learned a fundamental principle, similar to Lu Li's soul-shattering skill, but much more powerful. A powerful force passed through the tip of the sword and exploded in this person's head. This martial artist's head exploded. Perfect! Uncle Li was overjoyed. Just now, Lu Li told him that they would cooperate. Uncle Li didn't expect that their first cooperation would be so perfect. It was not that Uncle Li couldn't kill the warrior, but it was too easy for him to work with Lu Li. Grabbing the mountain in one hand, Uncle Li dashed over like a mad dragon. This time, his target was the immortal in the chaos armor. Because Lu Li had set his sights on this man, Lu Li had his eyes on his primordial spirit armor. Whoosh! Yuan Bing flew up from below and rushed towards the heavily injured martial artist. Soon, Uncle Li was close to the warrior in the chaos armor. He didn't attack from afar. Instead, he tried to stay close to the warrior to create a chance for Lu Li. Bang, bang, bang! His heavy sword kept clashing with the man's sharp claws. The man's claws were obviously wearing some kind of treasure. When his heavy sword struck it, it was no different from striking a weapon. His own hands were still numb from the impact. Lu Li had been checking with psychic power, but the warrior's movements were so strange that he could be far and close at the same time. Clearly, the warrior was on guard against the mountain. Lu Li couldn't find a chance. Boom! On the other side, Yuan Bing stabbed the heavily injured martial artist to death with a sword. The situation became 2 against 2. The pressure on Uncle Li was not that great anymore. Yuan Bing's fighting strength was still very strong. Although he was injured, the remaining warrior was still being suppressed by him. Go kill the other person with Yuan Bing. This person will definitely ambush you. Lu Li suddenly had an idea. He sent a message to Uncle Li. Uncle Li had an idea. He made several moves with his sword, and then he flew back like an arrow toward Yuan Bing. The cultivator wearing the primordial spirit heavenly treasure battle armor grew anxious. His body blurred into a blur as he pierced through the void, appearing behind Uncle Li in the next second. Buzzing, right at that moment, the mountain in Uncle Li's hand glowed. Uncle Li was sucked in by the mountain. Then, worms of the void came out and swarmed toward the warrior. The worms of the void turned into shadows. In an instant, hundreds of thousands of them pierced into the warrior's body. What? This martial artist's expression changed drastically, and his body suddenly shot downwards. He actually rushed into the ground and quickly disappeared. He ran away? Lu Li said to himself that it was a pity. He wanted to get himself a primordial spirit treasure to wear. He didn't expect that the warrior would react so quickly. He ran away without any hesitation. The rest was easy. Lu Li let Uncle Li out and Yuan Bing to kill the other warrior. That warrior tried to run away but was stopped by Yuan Bing. When Uncle Li joined the fight, the warrior was killed by Yuan Bing. Lu Li cleaned up the battlefield and put away all the treasures and interspatial rings. Then, he let Yuan Bing rest in the mountain. Uncle Li took the mountain and ran away. If Lu Li didn't run now, the dozens of warriors would come back to hunt Uncle Li down. Uncle Li was relieved to make sure that no one was chasing after him after he ran for hundreds of miles. He sent a message to Yuan Bing to ask for directions and then moved on. Yuan Bing was not seriously injured. Since they didn't need too many people on the way, Lu Li decided to let Yuan Bing stay inside to heal his wound. They could be ambushed at the Omen Island at any time. They must be at their best at all times. Otherwise they could be killed. 2 hours, 4 hours, 6 hours. Uncle Li, who was running, suddenly stopped, and a look of fear appeared on his face. When he passed by a lake, a surge of psychic power came out from the bottom of the lake. That psychic power made him feel cold. He felt he was facing the Grand Master of the Hall of Black Flames. He didn't dare to move. Cold sweat broke out on his forehead. If this powerful warrior wanted to make a move, Uncle Li, Lu Li, and Yuan Bing together would not be able to survive one move. Inside the mountain, Lu Li and Yuan Bing trembled at the same time. That psychic power had penetrated into the mountain and scanned through them. They sensed the power of the psychic power as well. Not to mention how powerful the warrior was, his soul must be strong. Lu Li and Yuan Bing didn't dare to move. Any move would be futile in the face of such a powerful warrior. It all depended on whether this powerful warrior wanted to kill them or not. If he did, not even God could save them. The Nine Wonders Mountain? The name suddenly came out and sounded in Lu Li and the other two souls. Lu Li and Uncle Li's expressions changed. Their souls were filled with despair. Since this warrior had recognized the Nine Wonders Mountain, it was very likely that he would take it. Even if Lu Li gave up the Nine Wonders Mountain, this powerful warrior would kill him to prevent the information from leaking out. The Nine Wonders Mountain belonged to King Mu, a powerful warrior at the third heaven. Any warrior would be tempted by such a treasure. Buzzing. Lu Li's eyes flickered. He teleported himself out and said with cupped fists, "Sir, I think this treasure is the Nine Wonders Mountain. But I haven't found the other three." Facing such a powerful warrior, playing any tricks would be courting death. Lu Li might as well admit it. "Yes, you are right." Soon, the voice came. It was calm and emotionless. Lu Li and Uncle Li felt a bit relieved. The voice continued, "Punk, aren't you afraid that I will take your treasure? Kill all of you?" "Yes." Lu Li cupped his fists and said bitterly, "Nobody wants to die, not even me. But you are so powerful. It is pointless for me to say more. If I die here today, I can only blame it on my bad luck." Ha ha ha. The powerful warrior suddenly burst into laughter and said something that delighted Lu Li and Li Tian. "You are smart. You can go now. I have lived for hundreds of thousands of years. I will not make things difficult for a newborn like you. An incomplete Nine Wonders Mountain is not good enough for me." "Thank you, sir." Lu Li and Li Tian bowed at the same time. When they were about to leave, the powerful warrior suddenly said to Lu Li alone, "If I remember correctly, there is a Nine Wonders Mountain on the Omen Island. I don't know who has it. It will be up to your luck and strength whether you can get it or not. If you can get it, your Nine Wonders Mountain will be much more powerful." P.S. Many people are asking about Lu Li's portrait on QQ. I have already posted one on WeChat. I will post it again tomorrow. In a couple of days, I will post a cartoon-like portrait of Lu Li. It is very handsome. If you want to see it, please follow my WeChat account, Night of Evil. Chapter 1826. Lu Li went back to the mountain. This time, he asked Uncle Li to put the mountain into his interspatial ring. If anything happened, he could let them out at once. In this way, powerful warriors wouldn't find the mountain. Just because that powerful warrior didn't covet it didn't mean that the others would. Uncle Li led Lu Li and Yuan Bing on for hundreds of thousands of miles before the cold sweat on Lu Li's back disappeared. That was too dangerous. If that powerful warrior wanted to kill, none of them could escape. One of the mountains is at the Omen Mountain? If I can integrate the 7th mountain, the power of the 9 Wonders Mountain will be enhanced? Lu Li was excited. He had talked to Little Six and knew that if he could find all 9 mountains and integrate them, the power would be horrifying. But who could tell where the mountain was in a sea of people? Also, it was just one mountain, not powerful. Maybe it was in a corner of an interspatial ring of a warrior? Could he go through all the interspatial rings of warriors at the Omen Island? What if that mountain was in the hands of the Demon Lord? Should he ask the Demon Lord for it? Alas, Lu Li realized that it was difficult to find the 7th mountain. He would have to rely on fate and luck. If he could not find it, there was no point in forcing it. Uncle Li and Yuan Bing talked for a while and decided to take a safer route. After all, there were many people wandering around the Omen Island. Who could tell if they would run into powerful warriors? The mountain was put into the interspatial ring, so Lu Li could not use psychic power anymore. He decided to cultivate. He was about to reach the next level of the cryptic spirit realm, and he wanted to make the best use of his time. Time passed by. Lu Li and the other 2 were lucky. They had been on the road for 4 to 5 days, and they ran into warriors twice. But neither time was too powerful. The first time, the warriors didn't bother Uncle Li, and the second time, Uncle Li ran away in advance. On the 6th day, Lu Li was alarmed. Uncle Li sent a message saying that he was in trouble. Lu Li checked with psychic power. The mountain was taken out. At once, he let Yuan Bing out, who had recovered. They are not that powerful. How dare they stop us? Lu Li used psychic power to check. There were 8 warriors in front of him who were similar to Yanjin. When Yuan Bing came out, the other party's expressions changed as well. They also noticed Lu Li's psychic power, which made them even more worried. Who knew how many more people were in the Divine Mountains? He didn't want Uncle Li to release another dozen people. They were able to intercept Uncle Li because of their advantage in numbers. If there were more people hiding here, they would be courting death. Boss, what should we do? A middle-aged man asked a gray-haired old man. The old man's eyes flickered for a moment before he gritted his teeth and waved his hand. Do it, Buzz. On the other side, Yuan Bing made the first move. A longbow appeared in his hand and he continuously plucked the bowstring. Black arrows of light whizzed out at the speed of light. Yuan Bing's shooting speed was too fast. He could shoot out dozens of arrows in a single breath's time. These black arrows came one after another, tearing through the void. Bang, bang, bang! A white shield of light appeared in front of the old man. The shield of light was condensed from airflow. The airflow was constantly rotating, and the black arrows were all swallowed up by the shield of light. Yuan Bing sneered. A cold light flashed in his eyes as he shouted, "Explode!" Boom, boom, boom. The light shield suddenly exploded, and the nearby space also exploded, tearing the space apart. The horrifying shockwave spread out, smashing away several warriors nearby. Run! The gray-haired old man was covered in blood. He retreated in terror and shouted. Yuan Bing sneered and kept on shooting. This time, the black arrows were different from before. This time, the black arrows were like poisonous snakes, and they were even faster. They easily caught up to a few people and wrapped around their bodies, greatly reducing their speed. How dare you try to rob others when you are so weak? Yuan Bing sneered. Uncle Li dashed over and smashed at the head of a slowed-down warrior with his sword. With a loud noise, the warrior's head was crushed and he was smashed away. Bang, bang, bang! Uncle Li and Yuan Bing worked together. None of the 8 could escape. They were killed easily. Lu Li had been observing the situation outside with psychic power. He was impressed. Yuan Bing was strong. It was just that he did not have the Chaos Treasure armor and weapons, or else he would be even stronger. My offense and defense are weak and I am not fast enough. The only thing I can tell is that I have a strong soul defense. Luli analyzed. For defense, he could find more thunderbolts to absorb so that he could improve his body faster. For offense, he could either learn a powerful fundamental principle or figure out a way to integrate it into the Slayer's Ghost Cut to increase the number of times it could rotate. The Slayer's Ghost Cut could only rotate 3 times. If it could reach 4, 5 or even 10, he could kill a 3 Tribulation Heaven immortal easily. Of course, it was a beautiful dream. To integrate the Slayer's Ghost Cut with fundamental principle was difficult. It required time and luck. As for moving speed, it was more difficult. He could either find a chaos treasure that could increase his speed or cultivate divine energy. When divine energy was strong, his speed would increase as well. Or, he could only learn the fundamental principle related to speed. Let's go. Uncle Li and Yuan Bing cleaned up the battlefield and collected the spoils. Then, they moved on. This time, Yuan Bing didn't go with them. His wounds were healed, and he was more familiar with the Omen Island. It would be safer for him to lead the way. Luli didn't care about that. He continued to cultivate in peace. As long as Uncle Li and Yuan Bing didn't send him a message, he wouldn't care. The rest of the journey was not peaceful. They had been on the road for more than a month and encountered more than a dozen warriors. Neither Uncle Li nor Yuan Bing sent a message to Luli because Luli could not be of much help. Therefore, Luli didn't know that Yuan Bing had led them away from all the cultivation places and forces of powerful warriors. The warriors they encountered recently were not powerful. The most powerful one they encountered the day before was a Lone Ranger. Neither Yuan Bing nor Uncle Li could defeat him, and they were almost killed by him. Uncle Li and Yuan Bing risked their lives and the Lone Ranger had some concerns. Eventually, Uncle Li and Yuan Bing managed to escape. Soon. We will arrive at the Cloud Mountain in 3 days at most. After they made it out, they found a small cave to hide and rest. Yuan Bing took a look at the map and exhaled. Uncle Li nodded to the distance. He hoped that everything would go smoothly in the next 3 days. They would be safe once they arrived at the Cloud Mountain. Yuan Bin looked at Uncle Li with a pleading look and said, "Lord, can you cure me when we arrive at the Cloud Mountain? I cannot go to the Cloud Mountain or I will die for sure." Why? Uncle Li was confused. Wasn't the Cloud Mountain a safe place? Because I once offended a man and he is at the Cloud Mountain. Chapter 1827. Okay. Uncle Li thought about it and said with a nod, "When we get to the foot of the Cloud Mountain, I will cure you and set you free." Once they arrived at the Cloud Mountain, they would be completely safe. Yuan Bin would not be of much help anymore. During this time, they had been fighting side by side and Yuan Bing had helped a lot. Naturally, Uncle Li would not make things difficult for Yuan Bing. Yuan Bing thanked Uncle Li. Ever since he was controlled by Uncle Li, he had never thought about living. He didn't expect that Uncle Li would be kind enough to set him free so soon. The two rested for more than half a day and recovered a bit. They resumed their journey. There were still a few more days to go. Hopefully they would be safe. Luli knew nothing about the outside world. He had reached a critical point in his cultivation and was about to make a breakthrough to the cryptic spirit realm. Even if the sky was falling down, he wouldn't care if Uncle Li didn't send him a message. 1 day, 2 days. Uncle Li and Yuan Bing only ran into 2 warriors on their way. They both went around each other after they sensed each other. They were about to arrive at the Cloud Mountain. Both Uncle Li and Yuan Bing were excited. One of them could settle down for a while and the other was free. Both of them were in a good mood. They were very close to the Cloud Mountain, less than half a day's journey. There might be many warriors at the foot of the Cloud Mountain, but the powerful ones wouldn't do anything rash. After all, this was a challenge to the owner of the Cloud Mountain. No powerful warrior would dare to offend the owner of the Cloud Mountain, no matter how ruthless he was. The two of them moved forward quickly. But they didn't dare to be too conspicuous. They didn't fly. They sneaked on like two foxes. They walked on for 4 hours. They did run into some people, but nobody dared to make a move. They just checked each other out. In the distant horizon, they could vaguely make out a towering mountain. Such a tall mountain was definitely Heavenly Cloud Mountain. Both of them were delighted. Yuan Bing would look at Uncle Li from time to time, waiting for him to cure him. "Just a bit more and I will cure you." Uncle Li waved his hand. He was relieved to be here. There must be soldiers patrolling at the foot of the Cloud Mountain. Nobody would be so bold as to kill them. Whoosh! The two of them leapt up a small mountain. However, at that moment, a powerful divine sense swept out from within the small mountain. Next, the small mountain exploded and a cultivator flew out, punching Uncle Li. Bang! There was a layer of green energy swirling around Uncle Li's body. His defensive power was not any weaker than the Grand Spirit Heavenly Treasure battle armor he was wearing. However, this punch directly dispersed the cyan airflow and broke half of Uncle Li's leg with a single punch. Xiao! Yuan Bing reacted quickly and slashed the head of the martial artist below him. Yuan Bing felt as though his sword had struck a divine weapon, and his longsword was actually repelled. That person's eyes turned ferocious as he grabbed Yuan Bing's leg and twisted it forcefully. Yuan Bing's leg was twisted like a fried dough twist. Yuan Bing cried out in pain. He was also a ruthless character. He swung his sword and chopped at the calf, while his other leg kicked at the warrior's head. His body bounced back. "Go!" Uncle Li was frightened and shouted at Yuan Bing. This person was too strong. He was definitely at the pinnacle of the second tribulation, Heavenly God realm. With their battle prowess, it was impossible for them to fight him. Now, their only way out was to rush to the foot of Mount Skycloud. With the deterrence of the Mount Skycloud army, this person would not dare to chase after them. The two's speed was at the limit. Uncle Li kept on releasing long-range attacks to stop that person from chasing after them. Although one of Yuan Bing's legs was broken, he gritted his teeth and took out his longbow. As he fled, he shot black arrows that filled the sky to stop that person from chasing after them. That person roared and rushed over. He was slightly faster than Uncle Li and Yuan Bing. However, Uncle Li and Yuan Bing were both releasing long-range attacks to slow down this person. The distance between the two parties was still more than 5 kilometers. They were getting closer, getting closer. 5 minutes later, the two saw a huge mountain shrouded in a faint mist. At the foot of the mountain, there were indeed groups of martial artists wearing silver battle armor. The two almost cried tears of joy. They flew forward crazily and stopped attacking the people behind them. They were afraid that they would anger the Mount Skycloud army. There were 2 groups of soldiers at the foot of Mount Skycloud. Because of Uncle Li's battle, they were attracted over. The formidable martial artist chasing after them saw so many soldiers locking onto them. After another 1 kilometer, he stopped. He glanced coldly at Uncle Li and Yuan Bing, then turned around and left. Uncle Li and Yuan Bing were relieved. They dared not to stay any longer. They rushed toward Mount Skycloud. Yuan Bing took a healing pellet to stop the bleeding. Uncle Li's leg was broken as well. But it was not a serious injury. He could recover in half a day. Swish, swish, swish. When he was more than 5 kilometers away from Skycloud Mountain, Yuan Bing suddenly stopped, his complexion turning deathly pale. Uncle Li stopped and asked in surprise, "What is it?" Yuan Bing's eyes were filled with hatred. He said while clenching his teeth, "My enemy is in front of me. He found me." Uncle Li was stunned. He didn't know what to do. If Yuan Bing retreated now, that enemy would not let him go. Even if they didn't secretly go after him, they would find someone to go after him. Yuan Bing would need at least 1 day to recover from his broken leg. 1 day was enough for his enemy to arrange for him to be killed. If Yuan Bing went to Mount Skycloud with Uncle Li, nobody would dare to do anything to him in a short time. That being said, that enemy would try to kill Yuan Bing. Lu Li and Uncle Li might even be implicated. Uncle Li thought for a while and thought of a compromise. He said, "How about we go to Mount Skycloud first? When you are healed, you can leave secretly." Sure. Yuan Bing thought about it. This was the safest way. If he dared to leave now, he would die for sure. He thought about it and said, "Lord, you go first. Pretend that you are not familiar with me. I won't implicate you." Okay. Uncle Li's ring flashed as he tossed out an antidote. Then, he quickly flew forward. He was not a kind man. This was all he could do to help Yuan Bing. He would not let Yuan Bing implicate him and Lu Li. Buzzing, while Uncle Li was flying, he took out the 9 Wonders Mountain and teleported Lu Li out. Lu Li was still cultivating when he woke up. He checked with psychic power and put away the 9 Wonders Mountain. Then, he looked at Uncle Li with surprise. He noticed Yuan Bing was behind him, but he didn't ask too many questions since there were 2 teams of warriors in front. "Master, I will explain to you later," Uncle Li said. Then he added, "Later, I will have to ask you to pretend to be my nephew. This way, it won't be out of place or draw attention." "Okay, Uncle Li." Lu Li didn't mind the way Uncle Li addressed him. He was young and weak. If Uncle Li were to call him master, it would draw attention. Uncle Li brought Lu Li to a team of warriors. He cupped his fists and said, "Greetings, lords. We are here to join Mount Skycloud." "Ha ha." A cold-eyed middle-aged man with braids said with a sneer, "Don't you have another friend? Why didn't you bring him along?" At first, Uncle Li didn't know who Yuan Bing's enemy was. Now he understood. This man happened to be a team leader. He was more powerful than Yuan Bing and he spoke with killing intent. Clearly, he was Yuan Bing's sworn enemy. Without any hesitation, Uncle Li cupped his fists and said, "Lord, we just met him. We are not familiar with him. He is not our friend." "Ha, is that so?" The commander with the braid waved his hand and ordered a soldier, "Bring these 2 people into the mountain to meet Commander Wang. At the same time, tell them the rules of our Skycloud Mountain. Don't let them die without knowing why." Chapter 1828. Mount Tianyun was huge. It was not a single mountain but a huge mountain range. The mountain range was special with many layers. There were 49 hills at the periphery and 18 mountains in the middle. In the middle was the main peak, which was divided into 3 levels. That was to say, Mount Tianyun was divided into 5 areas with different xian qi in each area. The highest level of the main peak had the most xian qi. It was said that it could be compared to the Chaos Realm. Taking a breath there could increase divine energy. Warriors of Mount Tianyun were divided into 5 levels: gold, silver, bronze, iron and wood. Warriors of different levels would live in different areas. This level was not only available to the soldiers of Skycloud Mountain. Instead, it was available to everyone. As long as one could obtain different status and treatment, they would be able to live in different regions. Then how do I get different identity tokens? Based on combat abilities? Lu Li could not help but ask after hearing the warrior's explanation. He was the weakest, so he could only live in the periphery. Uncle Li would have to separate from him and live in the 18 mountains. The Tower of Demon Imprisonment. The warrior pointed to the main peak and said, "At the foot of the main peak is the Tower of Demon Imprisonment. Everyone has a chance to go there once a month. If you can pass the first level, not only will you get an iron token, but you will also be rewarded with elixirs." So on. If you can pass the second level, you will get a bronze token, the third a silver token, and the fourth a golden token. If you can pass the fifth level, you will be summoned by Fairy Tianyun and have a chance to enter the Chaos Realm every year. Once a year? Luli and Uncle Lee's eyes glowed. They could forget about the Chaos Realm. It would be a great fortune to be able to enter the Chaos Realm. Passing the fifth level of the Tower of Demon Imprisonment could give them a chance to enter the Chaos Realm every year? It sounded unbelievable. Wait. Luli remembered something. The Chaos Realm was a place of treasures. How could Fairy Tianyun have a chance to bring people there? If there was an entrance to the Chaos Realm at the Omen Island, it would be controlled by the Devil King. Even if Fairy Tianyun was the Devil King's favorite sister, she would not be given such a great power. Of course, he didn't dare to ask about this. He could only ask, "Sir, how many people from Skycloud Mountain have passed the fifth level of the Yaosealing Pagoda?" "One," the soldier said with certainty. "There was one 30 years ago, but that person left Heavenly Devil Island and was later killed." "One?" Luli and Uncle Lee looked at each other, feeling bitter. There were so many people at the Cloud Mountain, so many powerful warriors. Only one person could pass the fifth floor of the Tower of Demon Imprisonment. Luli and Uncle Lee should stop dreaming. Remember this. The soldier solemnly explained, "You've just joined the Heavenly Cloud Mountain, so you can only be considered as citizens of the Wooden Tablet. Other than walking around the outer 49 peaks, if you dare to enter the Yaosealing Pagoda, you'll be killed without question. In addition, you are not allowed to fight privately in Mount Heavenly Cloud. Any disputes will be settled outside Mount Heavenly Cloud. Whoever dares to fight will be killed without mercy." "Yes, yes," Luli and Uncle Lee answered at once. The warrior led them into a small hill. Luli and Uncle Lee didn't dare to look around. They glanced around and found many caves in the hill. Clearly, they were dug by themselves. The caves were densely packed like a hornet's nest. The soldier brought the two of them to the peak of a small mountain. There was a castle there. Pointing to the caves nearby, the warrior said, "Citizens of the Wooden Tablet are not qualified to build castles. You can find an empty cave or dig one yourself. But don't dig too deep. There are inhibition formations at the foot of the hill. If you break the inhibition formations, you'll be killed without mercy." There were two warriors outside the castle. They glanced over Luli and Uncle Lee and let them in. There was a leader inside, a wretched-looking man with a goatee. He was more powerful than Uncle Lee. "Have you told them the rules?" Leader Wang looked at the warrior. After getting confirmation, he took out 2 wooden tokens with the words, "Heaven Cloud" on them. He waved his hand and said, "On the 3rd day of every month, you are qualified to go to the Tower of Monsters. Don't bother me during the rest of the month. Go register and leave." Luli and Uncle Lee registered their information and then left. That warrior pointed to a mountain in the distance and said, "Recently, more than 10 people died trying to break into the Tower of Demon Interception. You can live there. Also, citizens of the Wooden Tablet have the obligation to help the warriors capture beasts of primordial chaos. If you are called upon by chance, you must cooperate." Okay. It was Luli and Uncle Lee's first time here, so they kept a low profile. They walked toward the mountain in a well-behaved manner. On their way, they saw that all the mountains were caves. Many of the caves had inhibition formations. There must be people living in them. They arrived at the small mountain pointed out by the warrior. They looked around and found more than a dozen caves that were unoccupied. Luli and Uncle Lee thought about it and chose a clean and spacious cave to live in. "Let me set up some inhibition formations." There were some inhibition formations in the cave, but to Luli, they were of low levels. He and Uncle Lee might need to cultivate here for some time. It would be better for them to set up some inhibition formations and some spirit-gathering formations, which were suitable for cultivation. It didn't take long to set up such inhibition formations. In the time for 3 incense sticks to burn, Luli was done. After making sure that the inhibition formations were in order, Luli and Uncle Lee leaned against the wall and rested. At the Cloud Mountain, Luli and Uncle Lee had a place to settle down. At least, they didn't have to worry about being killed. Next, it would be up to them to grow stronger. Without enough power, Luli wouldn't even dare to step out of the Cloud Mountain, let alone the Omen Island. Uncle Lee sat down as well, relaxed. He had spent so many years in the second heaven that his will to fight had been extinguished. All he wanted now was to find a chance to get his daughter back so that he could die without regret. Bang! All of a sudden, there came a muffled sound. Luli and Uncle Lee opened their eyes at the same time. Didn't they say that fighting was forbidden at the Cloud Mountain? How come someone dared to fight at the Cloud Mountain? Whoosh! Luli and Uncle Lee rushed out of the cave and checked where the sound came from with psychic power. Many warriors rushed out from nearby caves as well. The fight in the mountain had attracted a lot of onlookers. Yuan Bing? Soon, Luli's expressions changed and so did Uncle Lee. They sensed a team of warriors were attacking Yuan Bing. Yuan Bing was already injured. Now, he was even more seriously injured. He was about to be killed. It's that leader. Uncle Lee noticed with psychic power that the leader with the braid was among the warriors. He was Yuan Bing's sworn enemy. Uncle Lee's eyes grew cold, but he didn't do anything. Yuan Bing was not his friend. Even if Yuan Bing were his friend, Uncle Lee wouldn't dare to do anything rash. Boom! Yuan Bing's head was cut off by the leader with the braid. Holding Yuan Bing's head in his hand, the leader looked around and shouted coldly, "Anyone who dares to break the rules of the Cloud Mountain, this man will be your example. What are you looking at? Go away." Many people went back to the cave at once. Uncle Lee pulled Luli back. However, the leader with the braid just happened to look over. Uncle Lee made eye contact with him. Oh no, Uncle Lee's heart sank. He saw killing intent in the eyes of the leader with the braid. It seemed that this leader would not let it go. Sooner or later, he would make trouble for Uncle Lee and Luli. I have to figure out a way to get the iron or bronze token. Chapter 1829. Uncle Lee had already guessed that Commander Pigtail would not let the matter rest. Therefore, he had Yuan Bing leave immediately after recuperating at Mount Skycloud. He originally thought that Commander Pigtail wouldn't act recklessly. After all, he was just a minor commander in front of everyone. How could he violate Skycloud Mountain's rules and kill people indiscriminately? However, he didn't expect Commander Braid to be so ruthless as to directly kill someone. Uncle Lee guessed that he must have found some kind of reason, but wasn't it too cruel? Revenge does not wait overnight. From this person's cold eyes and the fact that he was thinking of ways to kill Yuan Bing, Uncle Lee could tell that this person was a vengeful person. Now that he was sure that Uncle Lee, Luli and Yuan Bing were partners, he would find a way to kill them. Uncle Lee showed Luli into the cave and let him out of the inhibition formation. Uncle Lee told Luli about Yuan Bing and his concerns. Luli's heart skipped a beat. He saw Yuan Bing's death with his own eyes. This was clearly revenge. He had thought that he would be very safe in Mount Tianyun, but he did not expect Tu Sheng to have such an accident. Let's wait until the beginning of next month. Luli sighed and said, "At the beginning of next month, we will go to the Demon Subduing Tower and have a look. If we can pass the first level and get the iron token, then this leader will not dare to do anything rash." "Master, are you going to challenge it?" Uncle Lee became slightly nervous. A dozen or so people had died on this mountain not long ago. This meant that the first level of the Yao Ceiling Pagoda was very dangerous. Lu Li's combat ability was at the bottom of the second heaven. It was highly likely that he would die in the Demon Subduing Tower. "I'll continue to cultivate in seclusion for the next few days. If you have time, go make some connections with the people nearby and ask about the Yao Ceiling Pagoda. Also, ask about that commander. Lu Li waved his hand. He thought about it and said, "Don't get into conflict with that leader. No matter how he insults you, you must endure it. Don't give him a chance to do anything." Alright. Since Lu Li had made up his mind, Uncle Li couldn't persuade him otherwise. Lu Li activated the spirit gathering formation and started to cultivate. Recently, he was about to break through to the cryptic spirit realm, so he wanted to hurry up and evolve this state. Uncle Li, on the other hand, went out for a stroll. He didn't dare to go too far, so he just strolled around and tried to strike up a conversation with someone. However, after finding a few people, no one paid any attention to him. Later, he found a small martial artist with relatively low combat strength and threw him a few top-notch elixirs. This person immediately became easy to talk to. In just a few hours, Uncle Li had obtained the information he needed. He felt a little more at ease. He knew a little about the situation on the first floor of the Yao Ceiling Pagoda. If he didn't risk his life, he still had a good chance of surviving. Those who had died were people who had risked their lives to get through the first stage, but they had died inside. If one obtained an iron medallion, ordinary soldiers would not dare to provoke them, because the iron medallion represented great strength and status. If you could obtain a bronze identity, then even the commander would be polite to you. If you could obtain a silver badge, then even the commanders would have to pay their respects to you. Therefore, if he wanted to live comfortably in Skycloud Mountain, he had to find a way to obtain a bronze or iron plate identity. At the very least, he had to have an iron plate identity. With the identity of the wooden token, if the commander really wanted to kill indiscriminately, the higher-ups would only reprimand him at most. They wouldn't make the commander pay with his life. After he got the information, Uncle Li didn't dare to wander outside anymore, for fear that the commander would seize the chance. He went back to his cave and started closed-door cultivation. The commander in his room wouldn't come and make trouble for no reason, would he? It was only the beginning of the month. There were 20 more days until the next month. Uncle Li was not in a hurry. He cultivated in peace. Time flew by in a blink of an eye. Soon, 10 days had passed. The 10 days were peaceful. Uncle Li could put his mind at ease. As long as he didn't make trouble, he should be fine. On the 13th day, Lu Li came out from closed-door cultivation. He was overjoyed. Finally, he had made a breakthrough in the cryptic spirit realm. He had evolved to a brand new state. In this state, he felt absolute quietness, as if the whole world had disappeared and everything had stopped. In this state, he would feel tranquil, and the speed of learning would be greatly increased. Ethereal realm, cryptic spirit realm. This state is more advanced. What should I call it? Lu Li thought about it. He remembered the wonderful scene just now. 4 words came out of his mouth: Dreamland. The state of Dreamland didn't increase his abilities, but it was a powerful skill that could assist him in cultivation. In this state, his speed of learning fundamental principles of a law would be dozens of times faster. That was to say, if it would take him decades to learn a law, he could do it in 1 or 2 years in this state. Lu Li was not the only one who had this state. Many people had it. Ling Qinyan and Pan Yuqin had such skills. However, the speed of cultivation varied, depending on the level of the skill. Lu Li was satisfied that the speed of the state of Dreamland could be increased by at least 30 times. He rested for a while, and then tried to learn fundamental principles of a law to see the effect of the state of Dreamland. The effect was good. However, Lu Li was interrupted after one day. The inhibition formation in the cave glowed. When he woke up, he and Uncle Li looked at each other. Both were surprised. Then, they put their guards up. Lu Li got up and opened the inhibition formation. Uncle Li had a weapon in his hand. But when he saw that it was just an average warrior, Uncle Lee put away his weapon and walked out with Luli. You are Li Tian and Luli, right? The warrior had a name list in his hand. He looked at Luli and Li Tian coldly and asked. Li Tian cupped his fists and said with a smile, Yes, it is us. What can I do for you? Gather at the Cyan Sun Peak. The warrior waved his hand and said, Go with Commander Yang and Commander Chen to hunt beasts of primordial chaos. We need to feed the demons in the Tower of Monsters. Hunt beasts of primordial chaos? Uncle Lee and Luli frowned. They remembered that when they first arrived at the Mountain of Clouds, the warrior mentioned that he would occasionally go out to hunt beasts of primordial chaos and that some warriors would be recruited. They were recruited as soon as they arrived. Something is wrong. Luli and Uncle Lee looked at each other. Both remembered the leader with the braid. Could it be that person's doing? Did he pick their names to kill them during the beasts of primordial chaos? What are you waiting for? The warrior waved his hand impatiently. Pointing to a mountain in the distance, he said, That is the Cyan Sun Peak. Many people have gathered there. Go there now. Yes. Luli and Uncle Lee clenched their teeth and cupped their fists. Then, they walked toward the mountain. They could see from the distance that there were many people there. There should be more than 100. There were more coming from the other mountains. The braid. When Luli arrived at the foot of the Cyan Sun Peak, he looked up and saw the leader with the braid. Luli and Uncle Lee's hearts skipped a beat. This was a trap. The braid leader was trying to kill them. Damn it. Chapter 1830. Not to mention that Uncle Lee used to be a team leader in the Hall of Combat of the Black Flame Hall. The leader with the braid was strong, more powerful than Yuan Bing. That being said, if Uncle Lee were to risk his life, it was possible that Uncle Lee would perish together with him. Uncle Lee took out a bamboo slip, handed it to Luli and said, This has information about my daughter. Master, please take care of her if something bad happens to me. Okay. Luli nodded and put away the bamboo slip. He said solemnly, Let's play it by ear. Do not do anything unless it is absolutely necessary. Let it go for now. As long as we can get the iron or bronze token, this leader will not do anything to us. Luli and Uncle Lee communicated with each other while walking. Soon, they arrived at the Cyan Sun Peak. They stood in a corner and waited for the others to gather. The leader with the braid didn't even look at Luli and Uncle Lee as if he didn't know they were there, and this matter had nothing to do with him. Apart from the leader with the braid, there were 2 other team leaders. More and more people came. After an hour, almost everyone was here. A soldier began to take roll call according to the name list. After a round of roll call, the soldier reported, Commanders, the 300 people conscripted this time are all here. Okay. Let's go to the peak of the sun. An old man with a slightly stooped back waved his hand, and the 300 men followed the 3 commanders and 30 soldiers into the interior of Skycloud Mountain. Where are we going to hunt beasts of primordial chaos? Don't teleport out to sea. Luli and Uncle Lee looked at each other. Once again, they were worried. If they were to go out to sea, they might run into scouts left by Yen Hong. If they were discovered and Yen Hong was hiding nearby, they would be killed instantly without a chance to run away. The hundreds of people crossed more than a dozen mountains and finally arrived at a tall peak. Since they were led by team leaders and warriors, they didn't encounter any obstacles along the way. Halfway up the peak of the sun, there was a huge castle. Luli and Uncle Lee used psychic power to check and found a huge teleportation portal inside. Luli and Uncle Lee were even more worried. If they were teleported to the sea outside of the Omen Island, then it was highly likely that they would be discovered by scouts of the Hall of Black Flame. Let's go in. The older commander waved his hand and said, Once you enter, you are free to fight. Hunt the Chaos Beasts. Try to catch them alive. As long as each person could capture 100 2-star Chaos Beasts or kill 1,000 2-star Chaos Beasts. Or you can capture 10 3-star Chaos Beasts and hunt down 100 3-star Chaos Beasts. Then, your mission will be accomplished. Capture 10 3-star Chaos Beasts? Luli and Uncle Lee were speechless. 3-star beasts of primordial chaos were hard enough to kill, let alone capture them alive? Did this commander think that they were all third tribulation deities? Groups of people rushed into the portal. Luli and Uncle Lee purposely lagged behind. Although they had the advantage, it was safer this way. After a flash of white light, Luli and Uncle Lee appeared on a small island. The island was too small, and one could see the surrounding sea region at a glance. Apart from the teleportation array, there was nothing else on the island. Not bad. Luli and Uncle Lee looked at each other and relaxed a bit. This was not outside of Heavenly Devil Island, but within a mystic realm. This mystic realm was very big and was surrounded by a blue ocean. It was not the ocean outside. Whoosh, 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 those that entered the mystic realm flew to all sides. Many went into the ocean. There were battles in the ocean to the southwest. Those that came in earlier began to hunt beasts of primordial chaos. Let's go. Uncle Lee threw a look to the commander with the braid, who was standing on the side, and flew to the north with Luli. A couple of miles later, Uncle Lee said to Luli, "Let's fly further away and change our direction. We will go to the south. We will keep moving around. It will be more troublesome for that commander to find us when we are in the ocean. We must kill enough beasts of primordial chaos and come back." Okay. Luli nodded. They flew on for 300 miles and took a detour to the south. This mystic realm was still very big, and it would be difficult to find them easily. Bang! The two of them flew for tens of thousands of miles, and when they took a detour to the east, the seawater under the sea surged, and a big fish with sharp spikes on its head swooped up. It opened its big mouth, revealing its neat and sharp teeth, which were suffused with cold air. Piss off! Uncle Lee smashed at the fish with his sword and smashed it to the bottom of the ocean. This was only a 2-star chaos beast, not a match for Uncle Lee. Let's go! Uncle Lee did not linger. He took Luli to the south. An hour later, they arrived at an area of the ocean. This area was at least hundreds of thousands of miles away from the island. It would be difficult for that commander to find them. Let's go! Uncle Lee looked around and waved his hand at Luli with relief. They dashed into the ocean like two sharp swords. They used psychic power to check for beasts of primordial chaos. On their way, they saw many beasts of primordial chaos. The most powerful ones were 3-star beasts of primordial chaos, not particularly strong. It seemed that the beasts of primordial chaos in the mystic realm were not strong. This was a place for breeding low-level beasts of primordial chaos to provide food for the demons in the Tower of Monsters. Soon, they found beasts of primordial chaos, not just one, but a group of 2-star beasts of primordial chaos. They were a group of strange creatures, like monkeys but with big tails and shark fins. Capture or kill? Luli asked Uncle Lee. Uncle Lee made a gesture of killing and said, "Capturing is too troublesome. We need to kill the beasts of primordial chaos quickly. If we run into powerful 3-star beasts of primordial chaos, we can run. Just look for the beasts of primordial chaos that are easy to kill. If we are lucky, we can kill all 2,000 beasts in a day or two." Okay. Luli nodded. 2-star beasts of primordial chaos were easy to kill, and it would not take them much time. They just needed to look for more. They could wander around in order to avoid being tracked by the commander with the braid. Uncle Lee dashed into the group of beasts of primordial chaos. There were more than 30 beasts of primordial chaos there. They came over as soon as they saw Uncle Lee. Buzzing! Luli took out the mountain and released worms of the void. When hundreds of millions of worms of the void were gathered around him, Luli rushed forward with the worms of the void. Whoosh, whoosh, 5 or 6 beasts of primordial chaos came toward Luli. He waved his hand and the worms of the void spread out and surrounded the beasts of primordial chaos. Soon, the beasts of primordial chaos began to roll around in pain. Luli controlled the worms of the void to eat the souls of the beasts of primordial chaos. In the time for a few breaths, the beasts of primordial chaos were killed. Luli threw the bodies of the beasts of primordial chaos into the mountain. Bang, bang, bang! Uncle Lee was fast as well. He had killed more than a dozen beasts of primordial chaos. Every time he swung his sword, he could kill one beast of primordial chaos. 2-star beasts of primordial chaos were weak in defense. Luli didn't even have to do anything. In the time for half an incense stick to burn, the remaining beasts of primordial chaos were all killed. Uncle Lee put away the bodies of the beasts of primordial chaos and said, "Let's go." They moved on quickly. Luli thought to himself that if they could keep this up, they might be able to finish the task in half a day, instead of a day or two. Luli was overthinking. He had just moved on for several miles when he saw a huge beast rushing toward them at a horrifying speed. Luli could tell by the size of the beast that they had encountered a 3-star beast of primordial chaos. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.